Good morning, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome back to day 10 of the Herstory Online Summit. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And we made it, ladies. We made it 10 straight days, coming online every day, sharing these amazing stories. I'm also inspired to reconnect with an old friend. Denise, it is so good to see you.
Oh my goodness. It's you too. Oh, I just love you. This is just beautiful. Beautiful.
Now, Denise Newton is a friend of the Her Story movement, one of the first women from the US who came to Zimbabwe to support our efforts. We traveled with her. She spent 10 days in a village with no electricity, no running water, and survived. Oh, wow. And we have our brother Isaiah joining us from here in Melbourne. Wonderful to see you. How are you?
Good.
Fantastic. So we'll go around the room and do introductions before we get started. Jerry, why don't you start?
Okay. I am Jerry O'Lyon. I am based in Utah, of the United States, and I'm an author of Grandma's Buttons. I'm also a very strong humanitarian. I like doing humanitarian work. Probably that's the job I've done more in my life than anything else. And I'm really happy to be a part of Her Story Circle. It's amazing to meet and hear the stories of the women around the world. I just can't even fathom uh, how many people we've heard from since we started doing this back in Las Vegas. It's just wonderful. And glad to be here today. I can't stay the whole time, but I wanted to chime in on day 10.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jerry. Miss Ruth.
Yes, my name is Ruth Dengwani. I am in Harare, Zimbabwe. Denise, so good to see you, my
You too,
sister.
Ruth. Yes.
Been a while.
It has. It has. And it's so good to see you.
Good to see you. And Isaiah, it's been a while as well.
Indeed, it's been a while.
Introduce yourself, Isaiah.
Oh, my name is Isaiah Lahai. I'm living in Melbourne, Australia, and I'm originally from West Africa, Sierra Leone.
Fantastic. It's good to see you, my brother. Denise, tell us where you are.
Yes, I am in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I am just so super psyched and hyped up to be here. I love anything dealing with women's movements, women empowerment. And so this is right up my alley. And you guys are making my Saturday beautiful.
Fantastic. This is wonderful. So, we're going to start off our day with the one man in the room. Isaiah will give us the first live presentation. Who's going to read the bio, ladies? Did you receive the program? I put all the bios in the program.
I did. I have to pull it. I can pull it up. I have to pull it up on my computer because somehow it doesn't. It shows me it, but it only shows me a corner. So I was just getting ready to do that.
So I'm wearing what's called the Wooby. I'm wearing a giant blanket. It is so cold in Melbourne. My sister said, I'm going to send you a giant warm hug. And I received this yesterday. It's just this huge blanket like top, and it is so warm. I might have to take it off soon.
It looks comfortable.
It is nice for a Sunday morning. Yeah. I don't know what the weather is like for the rest of you, but we're in the middle of winter in Australia.
Extremely hot where I am.
It's 101 in Utah.
Oh my
It was
God.
98 in North Carolina.
But North Carolina would be much hotter because you guys are have a lot more humidity than we do.
Absolutely.
So you're a lot hotter.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready, Jerry? So we can exit stage.
Yeah, Isaiah Lahai. He's a public speaker, diversity and inclusion consultant, Greater Melbourne area, in the Melbourne area. Over the course of 4 years service in Australia, I have completed my Bachelor of Social Work, undertaken a number of professional placements, and given back to my local community. I have also served as chairperson and launched my own philanthropic enterprise, which has allowed us to fund and launch a new school in the war-torn zone. I am now seeking to build a career in social work, leveraging my theological understanding developed under my academic studies, as well as my interpersonal skills and ability to build rapport with vulnerable people from all walks of life. It is with great pleasure that we welcome you, Isaiah, to the stage of Herstory Circle.
You're muted. Your sound is muted.
Hear me now? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Great. Yeah, thank you for giving me this platform to share my story and also be a part of the journey that you've started many years ago. And I want to acknowledge the good work that is being done in Australia, New Zealand, and all around the world through your endeavors and passion to support humanity. My story has got many layers, and what keep me going is the hope and believe that there is always a better tomorrow to come. Growing up in West Africa, Sierra Leone, life was not too bad, but it wasn't easy. I never thought I could one day be in a place called Australia until one unfaithful morning on the 23rd of March 1991. I was roaming about in the community in Sierra Leone like any 14-year-old would, playing with my friends. By the time I could realize it, everything around me was closing down. When I returned home to my father's house to know what's happening, I met all the doors were locked. My parents, my siblings, no one was found. They have gone. I was left to make decisions that would define my life forever. Um, Notwithstanding what will happen, I went back in the streets to know exactly what is going on. To my surprise, I saw people moving around with machine guns, AK-47, people having machetes, and they chasing anyone they could lay their hands on, especially young boys. At the time, they were looking for recruits. They wanted to recruit young people to be part of the carnage they want to unleash on this nation, Sierra Leone. I made an informed decision at the age of 14 not to stay, but to flee. And that decision has been one of the best I've ever made as a human being. I started running, going from place to place to know exactly where my parents are. It took me 3 days to cross the border into a neighboring country called Guinea. On reaching at the shores of Guinea, I kept looking for my parents and I finally discovered they were living in one of the villages. So I went there, I rejoined my family. My mother was extremely worried about me, but fortunately they got me back. a new page of our life started as refugees. We spent 14 tough years moving from one refugee camp to another. We changed 5 refugee camps. It was in one of those refugee camps I met my wife, with whom I have 5 children today. We've been together for 22 years now. And in one of the refugee camps, I really realized that life was not going to be easy for me because there was nothing to do. In the morning, you wake up, you sit down looking at nothing to do because you have no crops, you have no schooling, you have nothing at all. If you survive, it is through the United Nations. The day they give you food, you eat. If they don't give you, you are not going to eat that day. So it came a time when life was becoming unbearable. I told my wife, we can't continue living like this. We have to find a way out of this place. But how can we go when we have no document? We have no visa, no passport. We have no money. We don't even know where to go. So fortunately for me, my elder sister was able to gain humanitarian asylum into Australia in 2003. So when she arrived, after a year, she got in touch with me. She took me out of the camps. I was living in Conakry, which is the capital city of Guinea. I spent 2.5 years in Conakry. And in 2006, I was fortunate to come to Australia. Reaching to Australia when we arrived at Melbourne and at Sydney International Airport, I saw the airport was so big, everything glittering like gold. I told my wife we've reached the second heavens because we've never seen anything like that. And then my wife said, this place is strange. How can we survive here? I told her if we have survived in the bush where we lived for 14 years, there is no way we cannot survive here. We thought Sydney was our last destination until when the immigration officer that was taking us on the journey came to me. He said, this is not your destination. I said, what do you mean? He said, you still have a journey to go. And then we onboarded the flight again. He said, we are going to Tasmania. I was like, but Tasmania is not part of Australia. I can't see Tasmania on the map. He said, you will soon know where Tasmania is. It took us an hour, some minutes. We dropped down in Hobart in Tasmania. The place was so freezing. The environment was so small and windy. I told my wife, we've come to another refugee camp. It was really incredibly freezing at the time in Hobart. But fortunate for us, that was the right destination for the type of lifestyle we wanted to start. And 9 years going, I was fortunate to settle in Tasmania. I went to university, I got a bachelor degree in social work. I engaged myself into the community. I became very much an activist, giving a voice to the voiceless and supporting the needs of the migrant community in Tasmania. In 2011, I was named Human Rights Activist of the Year, and they gave me a Human Rights Award. In 2014, I was named Citizen of the Year, and also People of Australia Ambassador Champion, which gave me the platform to visit Canberra every month. So I was an ambassador representing Tasmania for 3 years on multicultural affairs and giving voice to refugees and asylum seeker issues. So I use that platform to visit schools, community organizations, to sensitize and also educate the community about the need of welcoming those people fleeing their countries to come to Australia. Because I believe that our humanity is not defined by our color or the skin of our human nature, but our humanity should be defined by love. And love is the most invisible and powerful language we all should embrace and speak. Because if we want a better world, we first have to love ourselves, we love our neighbors, because that's the only thing that can bind us together. So I took on the venture of spreading hope, diversity, social inclusion into our society. And to the glory of God, I've spoken to over 200 schools and community organizations in Australia. So in 2016, my wife decided that there is nothing left for me to do in Tasmania. So we relocated in Melbourne, and today we are living in Victoria, Melbourne, in our own house. And that is because the grace of God has been sufficient for us, and we are living a new page of our lives, supporting humanity in the process. We have 2 schools that we built to support vulnerable children in Africa, Sierra Leone. These are kids whom their parents, most of them were killed during the Civil War. Some died during the Ebola outbreak in 2014, 2015, and some died during the coronavirus. So we take on those vulnerable children to support them with basic education. Because I strongly believe that if we are to prosper as a global community, education should be our primary focus. If we give education to communities, it will empower them to become self-sufficient. We can help to reduce the carnage that is happening currently, hunger, starvation, children dying because of lack of treatment. And many communities are suffering because they have nothing to do. But if we can enhance communities by educating the children, they will become better citizens tomorrow. So this is what keeps me going and believing that a better day is still to come. So I got in touch with Gertrude, I think 3 years ago. But in the process, I was building my house, so I couldn't have much time to focus and really contribute to what she's been doing. And I really appreciate your good work, and thank you, great women of this global community, coming together to really work to support each other. And I'm privileged to be a part, and thank you for listening. There are many categories to my life and stories, but I just want to give you a brief summary of who I am and what keeps me going. Thank you for listening to me. Can you hear me get through?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Ah, brilliant. So
I know it
if
feels
you,
like you're talking to yourself, but we're in the background, we're listening, we're watching.
oh, I see.
Mhm.
Yeah. If you want me to keep going, I have many stories I would like to share. But
Maybe we bring on the team and we have a Q&A session. I think people will get more by asking you questions and you can explain about your program. I think that
yeah.
would be the best approach.
Okay.
Okay. So, ladies, this is our opportunity to find out So I'm curious to know, since we last talked, Isaiah, the last time we had you presenting, you had a number of projects and initiatives back home in Sierra Leone around the school that you are supporting.
Yeah.
Where are you now? What support and help are you looking for?
Well, currently there is a need for a new toilet for the schools. I've been able to renovate one of the schools. I changed everything to semi-concrete, and they got new roof over the schools, and it's really looking good. But there is a need for a new toilet and also drinking water, because the first well that I paid for them to have is old, and the kids are growing every day. We have over 200 in one of the schools, and there is a need for clean drinking water. So those two are the current pressing projects that I'm hoping to find ways to support.
Okay. Now we have met a humanitarian who's based in Canada, who's
Yeah.
sinking boreholes throughout Africa. Ruth, remind me to connect Isaiah with Sebastian.
Yeah.
The
That's what I
one
was
thing,
just thinking.
yeah, the
Let's-
one thing he'll ask you is, can you find out and get a quotation from a drilling company
Okay.
in Sierra Leone? Because if you approach them, the price will be low. Because he's white, he's finding that when he approaches drilling companies, they double the price. So that's number one, get a quotation to drill, and we'll try and raise money for that. Sebastian comes in and he sinks submersible pumps that have got solar panels to run the pump.
Brilliant. I think if we have that, because I've always thought of the safety for these young kids. The current water they use is a hand pump. They have to go and
And pump by
physically
hand.
pump. Yes. And
Mhm.
looking at the safety concerns that I can see around schools, it won't be a good thing. But if we can have a solar that can easily pump the water for them, it will help them a lot.
The other pump that I've been investigating for Zimbabwe is called a water pump. I've seen it being implemented in South Africa. What they've been doing is they create a merry-go-round, like playground equipment.
Yeah.
So when the children are playing on the merry-go-round sits on top of the borehole. So while kids are playing during the day, they're actually pumping water into a tank. So again, it's sustainable. You don't need electricity. So it's another nonprofit that I found in South Africa, and I'm trying to see if they can come to Zimbabwe and go to other African countries where we're needing water, because it's all about the sustainability
Yeah.
aspect.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
already using the energy of the kids while they're playing. They're not even aware that they're part of the ecosystem to help pump the water. They're having fun. But that's what South Africans are doing, because there's a big problem with electricity in South Africa. So if I get the information about getting that company to Zimbabwe, I'm sure they'll do it anywhere else. Again, we'll see how we can support and facilitate there.
Great. That'll be good.
Fantastic. Jerry, I can see you wanted to jump in with a question or a comment.
Yeah, that you have taken your life of lemons and turned it into lemonade with your efforts. Amazing stuff that you're doing. I love that. I love the idea of the merry-go-round. I had not heard that. I knew about Sebastian's program, but that's
Yes,
quite extraordinary, because kids love playing on those things,
Mhm.
they
and
do.
they probably play and play and play, and they've got the storage of water. That's amazing. But Isaiah, I wanted to ask you, when you it's extraordinary that you found your parents, to me, because I'm sure your mom was absolutely having a heart attack worrying about you. Did you say you were 14?
I was 14 in 1991.
Yeah. Okay. So how did you know that's the direction they would have gone? How did you know? I mean, what did you, when you got across the border, did you just start asking people if
Well,
they'd seen them, or?
that's another layer to being a refugee. You know, whenever I come across people, I tell them there's a absolute difference between being a refugee and a migrant. Refugees are people who haven't got a plan to know where they are going, when they are going, how they will go, what they will take. So, in the process of fleeing my country, I just follow wherever I saw people going. Whether they are going the right direction or not, that's what I took. And it took me 3 days to locate my parents because of that. There was no plan.
Yeah.
No
Wow.
plan. You just follow whatever you see happening ahead of you. If people are going into the danger zone and you don't know, you have to follow them.
Right. I'm
So
sure your
that's what.
mother was praying. Please bring my son back to me.
Yeah, my mother was really crying because my mother had 11 of us. Out of 11, only 3 of us are alive. And out of the 3, I'm the only one that can properly talk and hear. So she was extremely broken, knowing that the only son that she's hoping on was left behind.
And I'm
She
sure,
was really, really sad.
wow, that's extraordinary. I'm sure is she still with us? If she's
Yes,
not,
she is.
okay, she's probably just so happy with how you've done your life, and you must have an extraordinary wife to be in tune with knowing when it was time to move on to another area. I'm very happy to hear your story. Thank you for sharing it.
Thank you.
Miss Ruth, give us some feedback. I can see before you jump in, Ruth, we have Velvet chiming in from Brisbane, Australia. She said, you are a voice for the voiceless, Citizen of the Year, multicultural affairs and issues, welcoming people fleeing from their countries. Humanity is not defined by color, but by love, spreading hope, inclusion, cultural diversity, and acceptance. She says, you are amazing. I
Thank
deeply
you.
agree with everything you're saying. Thank you for chiming in, Velvet. She always chimes in, and I've just asked her to come and sing for us before the end of the day. I hope she says yes, because Velvet always comes and sings an African song for us. All right, Ruth, give us some feedback.
Always an amazing story, Isaiah. And there are many of these amazing stories that you have over your life. And I think when you are in a better position to understand what's happening in Ukraine at the moment, when people flee their country looking for refugee or for shelter and security away from home. And what I wanted to find out is when you did that journey in the forests, not knowing where you were going, was there food or food was the last on your mind?
Well, when you're running, especially our human nature is built in a way we can become so resilient when we are faced with real threat to our lives. Even drinking water will not be a big concern when you are running for your life. And that's exactly what we were faced with. There was no clean drinking water to start with. I remember passing through one of the mountains. We drank water that had sparoggia in it. It was extremely dirty. But when you're thirsty and you have no other option, you just have to do what you have to do to survive. And that's where survival comes in. And our human bodies are built in a way when it comes to survival, your body can resist whatever that will harm you. And that's exactly what happened to me in the short 3 days that I took to locate my parents. It was a tough journey. There was no food to start with. Getting water was a problem, let alone food. You're running for your life. Wherever you go, you meet people are closing their doors. Everyone is running away. So you don't have the privilege or option to look for food. You just have to keep going.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you, Gertrude.
Awesome. Denise, do you have any comments? And then we'll put in Dorothy. I know, Dorothy, you might, you're dropping in and out. Your connection doesn't seem to be good, but it's lovely to have you with us. Denise, give us some feedback, and then Dorothy, introduce yourself.
I just first want to say your story is absolutely empowering. And with everything, and I just so love that quote that humanity is defined by love and not color, because in the 21st century we're still dealing with issues of color, and so
That's right.
that really touches me. And I don't understand why we're still dealing with issues of color in the 21st century, but we are. And just seeing how you didn't let those circumstances in your life stop you from doing great things is so empowering to me. And I wish I could just have you and your wife could get shipped over here to the United States and spread some of that around. But this is just so amazing. And I just want to thank you for what you're doing and where you're touching lives. And I have just so enjoyed your story today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic. It looks like Dorothy has dropped out. So before we let you go, Isaiah, let me show you guys the play pump. I've just found a video online of an organization in South Africa that have this play pump. I'll just play this for you guys so you see what it's all about.
In many parts of the world, it is impossible to find clean drinking water, especially here in South Africa, where some 5 million people have no access to safe water. But one man is trying to do something about it.
We're going towards an area called Stinkwater. It's a lovely name, and that's obviously an Afrikaans name. And the reason why it's called Stinkwater is because the water stinks.
Trevor Field is obsessed with solving South Africa's water problems. He took me to Stinkwater to show me what he's up against. Here, people get their water from leaky, contaminated hand pumps. And the work involved is exhausting.
How's that feel, Trevor?
Hey man, you don't need to go to a gym, hey? You can cancel your subscription to Virgin Active. You just do this for a couple of hours a day. And every day.
Once they've pumped the water, women still have to walk long distances back home, carrying water on their heads or in wheelbarrows.
And the amount of time that these women are burning up just collecting water when they should be in their homes, looking after their kids, teaching the children, just being loving mothers, what women should be doing, not beasts of burden. Hi guys. Hello. How are you doing?
Trevor's an entrepreneur who made his money in the advertising business. And at the age of 42, decided he wanted to give something back. He teamed up with an inventor, and the roundabout outdoor play pump was born.
Yeah, so what happens is as the kids spin here, and it doesn't matter which direction they go, it works in both directions. Water's pumped from an underground borehole, comes across here underground into this pipe, and not only can you hear the water going into the pipe, you can actually feel that it's getting very cold now.
Yeah.
And then from there's an outlet pipe, and it goes across to that tap. When you turn it on, you just get cold, clean, fresh drinking water coming out of it.
The play pump costs only $7,000 to install and can pump up to 400 gallons an hour. Trevor installs most play pumps at schools where jungle gyms and swing sets are rare. The principal says it's a hit.
First time when they arrive at school in the morning, the first child who comes in goes to the well downs his book or a book and comes to the wheel until the bell rings. They enjoy playing here.
I felt so impressed and I appreciated it. And me and my friends were just running. Even though a teacher called us, we didn't listen to him. We were just running to the merry-go-round. There were no toys at school that we could play with, so I thought this merry-go-round, we could play with it and have some.
And what?
Some fun.
It's fun, and the water's better too. So this used to be your drinking supply?
Yes.
This is where you drink water from, okay.
Yes.
So what do we have here? Patricia Mahole, a teacher, says for years they never realized the groundwater here was polluted.
We thought it was safe, but the kids used to get diarrhea, you see, and vomit, get sick.
The play pump changed everything by drawing clean water from deep underground. Trevor sells ad space on the water tanks and uses the money for maintenance to keep the play pumps working. And then he had another idea.
How is this?
Oh, this is the Love Life campaign. This is an HIV/AIDS awareness campaign. This is a focal point of the community. So my idea was that if we put messages for HIV/AIDS awareness, it should have the same effect on these kids. And we've got to get the message through to them before they become sexually active. That's the way I see it.
Trevor invited us along as a new play pump was installed in the Eastern Cape, in a remote rural village. When we arrived, the taps had been dry for a week. The play pump can transform a place like this, giving enough drinking water for 2,500 people. And with only 7 men and a day's work, the pump was ready to go. And it didn't take long for the kids to show up. Trevor wants to expand beyond South Africa and bring the play pump to neighboring countries.
If we could put 1,000 pumps in each country that's water stressed, we'd make a monster difference to rural water supplies.
The World Bank recognized the play pump as one of the best new grassroots technologies. And these days, Trevor is busy raising the funds to fulfill his dream.
It's a big operation to put 1,000 pumps in any country, but it would make a major difference to the children on the ground. And that's where our passion lies, is to make a difference to the kids. Save the kids of the future.
Since we first aired this story, Trevor's dreams have started to come true.
Together with our partners, we commit to bringing the benefits of clean drinking water to more than 1,000 communities and schools in sub-Saharan Africa through the Play Pump water system.
Last September, its First Lady Laura Bush announced that Play Pumps International would be receiving $16.4 million. Among the donors are the U.S. government and the Steve and Jean Case Foundation. Back in South Africa, social entrepreneur Trevor Field was thrilled with the good news.
It never, ever entered my head that the First Lady of the USA would stand up on stage and make an announcement that, well, we're going to give $16.4 million to play pumps. You know, I mean, that was from outer space.
But that wasn't all. The play pump had become a celebrity cause. Hip-hop star Jay-Z pledged to raise $400,000 for Play Pumps International through his Water for Life concert tour here in Africa. Trevor moved into a larger factory and plans to triple the size of his staff.
It was going to make a monster difference, a huge difference to the world. And now we've got the money to do it. And now we've got the facility to do it. And the backing of some very, very powerful people.
The goal now is to raise $45 million more, which would put 4,000 play pumps in Africa by 2010. That would mean clean drinking water for some 10 million people.
We're going to do it. We're going to take this through Africa, and that's we're really going to change the world, I think.
There's much more to explore on our website. Discuss the
Isn't that incredible?
Wow, that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah. That's the potential of technology. Now, when I was lecturing at Robert Morris University in Pittsburgh, I had my students in the engineering department design a similar system, but using old bicycle parts. So the play pump is great, but sometimes maintenance becomes an issue, trying to fix it and get things right. So I actually have a design that was gifted to me by students from my university, where same concept, taking old bicycles, so long as you've got that chain, and kids can just jump on the bikes during break time and cycle and do the same thing because you're just needing that human energy. And kids want to play during break time. So I have that design. I just need to get the funding to get that design to market. But we can be really creative, Isaiah, in terms of
Yeah,
getting water to your community. So
yeah.
thank
I
you
think
for your
it will
work.
be a very good thing. It will be a good thing. Please go.
Yeah. Because the other thing about the bicycles, I've seen, I think I was in New York once, and they had a whole row of bikes, and people were jumping onto these bikes and cycling, like at lunchtime, like a way to lose weight. And they were lighting up all the billboards in what's that square, Denise, in New
Times
York?
Square.
Times Square, yes. Same idea, because you can generate electricity from it as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So we can get really creative with getting innovative ways of getting electricity and water to the communities that need it the most.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your work. Do not stop. Keep going. I know you and I were supposed to connect. I arrived in the middle of COVID and we never did. But I'm living here in Melbourne now. So I'll
Oh,
send you
you
my
move.
number.
You
I
move.
never went back. I have so much to share with you. So if you're free on Monday, let's catch up for a coffee and I will fill you in on the latest innovations. I've actually registered my first technology startup company here in Melbourne. There's some big
Okay,
things happening here in Melbourne. So you and I need to connect.
brilliant. This is my wife. Love it.
Oh, hello. Hi, Lovette. How are you?
Hello,
Wonderful to meet you.
thank you.
I'm looking
How
forward to meeting you in person soon.
okay, welcome at any time.
Fantastic. Oh, this is awesome. So,
Okay.
Isaiah, I'll send you my Australia phone number again. Just text me a time that you're available on Monday. Let's connect.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. You're
Thank you.
welcome to stay with us for the rest of the day. If you have to go, we understand. But
Yes,
thank you for
I have to church.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for opening the conference today. It's wonderful to see you again.
Thank you so much, and I sincerely appreciate the good work all of the incredible women around the world are doing to really support humanity. Because at the end of the day, we'll all one day die, but whatever legacy we leave behind will speak volume. I'm always moved by the legacy of people like Nelson Mandela, in as much as he's not in the flesh anymore, but his legacy still lives on with us. And this is why we should keep doing what we do to support each other, help those in need. Thank you so much. And I look forward to connecting with you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye.
Hi.
So we have the beautiful Dorothy popping in and out. I think her connection is not very good. Dorothy will probably share her story about her project in Zimbabwe as well. So if you guys can just look out for her when she pops back in. we'll have Dorothy present live. Who's our next presenter, Ruth, on the schedule so I can line up the video? Maybe we'll have you, Denise.
Denise was speaking.
Yes, Denise is speaking next. Do you want to introduce Denise, Ruth? I put her bio in the program.
Just give me a minute.
What a wonderful start to our day.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hear these stories and the next time you hear it, there's a different thing that you had missed the first time. It's actually wonderful.
Yes.
Sorry, Ruth, I cut you off. Go ahead.
It's always like that, isn't it? Story always, even if you hear the same, like Jerry's story, every time she tells it, there's something new.
Yeah,
I
there's
don't
a different
have
layer.
Denise.
It's on the program.
Yeah, I don't have Denise.
Actually, it's just her name is on there, not the actual. Her name is there, and it goes right into Isaiah.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So that was my error. Denise, you're just going to have to introduce yourself.
Okay. Not a problem. I am S. Denise Newton. My first name is Sandra. I reside in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I am just over the moon excited about being here. I want to preface my presentation by saying this. Gertrude is a life changer. And I am just thrilled that I can see her face to face today to say that. It was, oh my God, it was just absolutely mind-boggling how we even connected. I had an internet radio show back in 2011, and Gertrude and I had a mutual friend named Susan Guerin. And Susan and I on my radio show one day was talking about Africa, and I kept talking about, oh my God, I would love to go to Africa. I would love go. And just because I'd never been, I never financially was able to do that. And she started telling me about Gertrude. And a few days later, she arranged for Gertrude to come on my radio show. And I was just so mesmerized by the work that Gertrude was doing, and she was just selling Africa to me. She was selling the continent of Africa to me, and I remember saying to her before we left that broadcast, I said, "Oh my God, I would love to go to Africa one day." And she said, "Denise, you're gonna go?" And I said, "Yeah, that's one of my dreams to be able to go." She says, "No, you're really going to go to Africa, and you're gonna go with me." And I was like, "What? Oh my God, are you serious?" She said, "Yeah." And I tell you, that was in August of 2011. And in November of 2011, I was in Africa with Gertrude. And she made that happen. And when I say she's a life changer, that's not, I mean, I can't state that enough, because when I got there and was able to stand on the soil of the motherland, I became so emotional. It's like I could feel the spirit of the ancestors when I got there. And Getty, she talked so much. She taught me so much, not so much in words, but just in her actions. Watching her, just the way that she went, above and beyond to reach out to the people in the villages, and they adored her. When she came through those villages, it was like she was the Queen of England. She made such a profound effect on everybody who was anybody that got close to her. She made an effect on them, an impact. And those weeks that we were there, I learned so much. The one thing that I learned the most was that we were all put on this earth for a purpose. We wasn't put here to be born, to go to school, to get a job, to get married, retire, and then die. That's not why we're here. I learned while I was there that God gave all of us a talent, an ability to do things, to make a difference. And I just watched her. I just watched her moves. I watched what she did. And, I laughed when she said that the time that we were there, we were without electricity. And that, even that touched me, because it did, the love that the people had. And even in their circumstances, they were still some of the most kindest people I ever come across in my life. And it just did something to me. And I had this thirst to do more. I just felt I got to do more. I'm not doing enough. I think God has given me too much for me not to be doing more. And so that is what Gertrude instilled in me during that time. Use what you have to make a difference. And for us to go there and take all of those books over there to those children and watching the kids receive those books like they were precious jewels or something. They were hugging the books when we laid them out for them. And to be in that village and watch the children play and let me know how some of us are not grateful for our own how we are here in the United States. Our children is a little bit more fortunate, some of them, but they're just not appreciative. And these children, even in their circumstances, they were still some happy children. They sang happy songs. They gave nice hugs. And I was just transformed. My whole line of thinking was transformed. And when I got back to America, I had to reflect on everything that I learned while I was there. And because of Gertrude and what we did during that time that I was there, I started to pray more like, God, what do I need to be doing in this day? How can I make that kind of impact that Gertrude is making? And through what she instilled in me in those weeks that we were there, I began to go on the radio and talk about Africa and talk about Zimbabwe and talk about what we did when we were there. And I sold it to a lot of people because, matter of fact, I had one couple that was a friend of mine. They actually went over there and got married because I talked about Victoria Falls and all of these things that I saw. And so I began to just start, reaching out to people. I started speaking more. I started working with kids. I was working in an elementary school with young children like we did over in Africa. And, and I started to just rise as far as people saw my thirst and my hunger to make a difference. And because of that, I started getting into circles of people who were just doing these amazing things. When I first met her, I was doing radio. I was working in school, but I wasn't doing much more than that. Once I met Gertrude and went on that pilgrimage, and that to me is like a pilgrimage to Mecca. It was a pilgrimage for me. And once I went over there, and learned so much, I came back here with this thirst and this hunger. And before I knew it, things were changing for me in that I was getting introduced to people that I would have never in my life, believed that I would ever meet. So one of the people that I met through just networking with others, and networking is very powerful. Just in networking with other people, one of the people that I met was she was the ambassador to South Africa, appointed by Nelson Mandela when he first got out of prison, and her name is Thandi Lujabi Renko, and she has us to call her Mama T. She's 85. I met her. And through another person and through video. I've never seen her in person. But when she told her story about apartheid, and how, because she was a woman and she stood up against, what was going on during that time, she was exiled from South Africa for 33 years. She couldn't even go home because the threat of assassination, because of the work that she was doing. And just listening to strong women like that, like Mama T, like Gertrude, that just don't consider or worry about what could possibly happen. They stay in the moment and address what's before them. And I was just so mesmerized. I was like, I just need to do more. And because of that, before I knew it, I was meeting, dignitaries and some celebrities. And they have opened up doors for me now to be able to speak, to be able to impact. And this is what I do, and I'm loving it. And I know now what my purpose on this earth is, and it is humanitarianism. It is helping other people. I don't have a whole lot myself personally, but I would give my last for somebody else. And I will, do what I can to help somebody else with what I do have. And so while we were there, and I want to show you that, I hope you can see this. Y'all, excuse me. This is my most prized possession in the world right now. And I hope you all can see this. This is a picture of me with a lioness. And this was taken in Zimbabwe at Victoria Falls. when I was with Gertrude. This is my most prized possession. I actually walked and touched a real live lion. Would I ever do that again? I don't know. But this is my prized possession, this picture, and I show it to everybody that I can. And so now, since meeting Gertrude, when I first got back, I started writing a book about my experience while I was over there. And the book is called Two Continents, One Hope. Because I began to see how I myself was just not grateful enough for what I had until I went over there and I just saw that bridge or that gap between Black people in Africa and Black people in America. And I was like, we need to bridge that gap more. How can we do that? And that's where I put a lot of my efforts at. How can we do that? I just so fell in love with the people of Africa, my people. Let me change that. I so fell in love with my people when I got there. And so after writing that book and some people just read it and they just got, others started get this thirst for going over to the continent, doing work over there. And during that time also, my radio co-host was Skylar Jett. And Skylar is, he's a musician, producer, all of these things. He sang on the Titanic soundtrack with Celine Dion. I think they won a Grammy for that. Skylar replaced Lionel Richie in the Commodores when he left. So Skylar became my co-host. And this is how we brought a lot of celebrities onto the show. And through all of that, I was able to get out the message about being a humanitarian. You don't have to be wealthy to help other people. And so, and Skylar is a humanitarian. He does a lot. He writes music for causes. He wrote songs about the pollution, the way we're polluting the planet. He went over to Ghana and he met someone there, and they actually produced a song about the Ghanaian people. It is so beautiful. And so he's heavily now into doing things with Africa. And in fact, he has a foundation. I believe that his cousin lives in Ghana, has a foundation. It's what they're doing. They want to do more for people, the African people that are still struggling and having a hard time with food and medicine and things like that. I don't know how much they've started to do yet, but that's what they're working on. And so Skylar also stirred up that drive in me. So since meeting Gertrude and going over to Africa, again, I have been able to publish a couple of books, do some speaking, and people call on me to do things. I became an influencer somehow just from talking, and now I just want to let everybody know, if you are breathing, you can make a difference. It's and my own thinking a long time ago was, in order to help other people, you had to have something to give them. Well, you don't have to have physical things to give to people to make a difference. Give them your spirit, give them your heart, give them your attention. Those things can also make a world of difference in people's lives. And I am just so transformed from going over to Zimbabwe in 2011, and not only meeting Gertrude, but her amazing, sweetheart parents. The way they looked out for us, the way they took care of us while we were there, God rest their sweet spirits. They really looked out for us. And it was not like I was in a strange place. Now, mind you, it's my first time on the continent in any African country, but I never felt that I was in a strange land. It felt just like I was at home, and that's how I was treated. I could never forget that pilgrimage and how it has transformed my life. And now I'm just doing things, just writing, speaking, influencing, showing people how they can get involved in things. Again, you don't have to have a big bank account to do it. So this is where I am in my life. And it all started, and I have to give credit where credit is due. I have to give credit to Gertrude, because I don't think, if I had never met her, I would never have had that opportunity to not only go to South Africa, but to go find my purpose. And I found it there. It was there that I found it, because I am a totally different person today than I was when I first went over. And it's all because of what she taught me. Again, not so much through words too, but her actions, because I watched everything she did. And she did it with such love, but love for everybody, and helping. And I'm just sitting there saying, and we're so selfish. Some of us are so selfish. And even myself, I had to put myself in that category back then, because I could have been doing more all along, and I just didn't know it. But it took that pilgrimage there and the impact that Gertrude had on my life for me to understand why I'm here on this earth. And I want it to be said at the end of my life. And I don't do anything for accolades or for people to, hold me up as somebody great and wonderful. That's not why I do anything. I do it because of this song that they love to sing in the Black churches here in America. Well, it's not a song, it's more of a phrase. Yeah, it is a song too. But they like to say this: may the works I've done speak for me. And that is where I am in my life. I don't have to get any accolades. I don't have to get any pats on the back. But at the end of my life, I want people to be able to say, she emptied out. And that's what we have to do in this day. We have to empty out. We all are sitting on a wealth of talent. We're sitting on a wealth of gifts and abilities. And we got to empty this stuff out. God didn't give it to us for us to sit on it or say, well, I'm not going to do anything unless I get this big payday. You got to pay me a lot of money to do this, that, and the other. Or I got to be on a big stage. No, that's not how that works. Anywhere at any time that you can use your influence, you need to be willing to do that, because you get your pay at the end. And that's how again, at the end of my life, I want my works to speak for me. And if that's how it is at the end of my life, then I would have done what I know that God has sent me here to this earth to do. And I am just eternally grateful to Ruth as well. Her sweet spirit, her accommodating spirit, the way she also looked out for us when we were there. The Quindas, Dr. Quinda and his wife Rosemary, and so many of the people in the village that just embraced us so much and just looked out for us. I have been talking about that trip since 2011, and everybody knows if we sitting around having a conversation, Denise is going to bring up Africa in some way in that conversation. And I also did a women's empowerment book where I featured 50 women and about them overcoming major obstacles to build, to start businesses, to become humanitarians and do all these great and wonderful things. And this picture, if you can see behind me, poetically speaking, what I do now is I write poetry and it's set to music. And so, because sometimes music, it doesn't even have to have words. Music can be a message. Just listening to it, just calming your mind, calming your heart, calming your spirit, and it can give your thoughts, make your thoughts a lot clearer. So I am just enjoying what I have learned. And again, I'm not just saying this because I'm on this broadcast with Gertrude. I'm saying to her and everybody that's listening that she transformed my life in 2011. She did something I would have never been able to do had it not been for her. And I'm so grateful to be able to say that to her face today. And what she taught me in 2011 during those weeks that we were in South Africa, I will continue to take those lessons forward and try to make an impact in every way that I can, because she's a gem. And I hope that everybody that is associated with Gertrude know that she is a jewel. And she doesn't do things herself for accolades or pats on the back. It's in her spirit. It's who she is. She is just made of this stuff, and it exudes from her if you're in her presence. And I just love her dearly. And I am just so grateful to her for all that she did, and all that she's currently doing. And that's why when she contacted me the other day, I was just so excited when she was telling me about her story. And I watch everything she does online. Trust and believe me. And when she posts something, I'm watching. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And I'll tell other people. I've told so many people about her too. So I just want to say again, ladies, I am just so thrilled to be here. I am just so thrilled that God connected me to Gertrude. And I'm going forward in the things that she imparted into me back in 2011. And I'm excited about the future and what was coming, because basically, I'm just getting started. I love you, Gertrude, and thank you all for having me here today.
You are making me cry, Denise.
I mean every word. I mean every
No,
word. And I'm so glad that I'm able to tell you that to your face today.
She's right on everything she said. Everything she said.
we haven't talked for a while, and you mentioned a few people who have since passed. I lost dad in 2018. I lost mom in 2020. Dr. Kwenda and his wife died, I think it was 2017. They died less than a year apart. So 4 people that you mentioned are gone. But the work has to go on, and thank you for your words.
I mean everyone. You are an influencer. And I wouldn't be doing the things I'm doing today had it not been for you. Because you told me, Denise, you're going. I didn't believe it. I was like, this is impossible. But you told me you're going. And I went. And my life has not been the same since then. I am forever indebted to you.
Yeah, we did create a little miracle with that trip. I remember you were the first of the women who said yes to come on that trip, and it was life-changing.
It was. It was. And I'm gonna shut up before I start crying because it just takes me back to that time, and I'll never forget it. My kids know this story better than I do because I tell it so often, and I've started to tell it to my grandchildren too. And so I was going when my son got married. We had discussed him going to get married at Victoria Falls.
Oh, wow.
It would have been so beautiful and so romantic, but they weren't able to get everything together to get married in Victoria Falls. But that is on their bucket list to visit on one of their anniversaries is to go to Victoria Falls. So you are just amazing. Oh my God. I can't say it enough, but I am so grateful for being here.
Thank you, Denise. Well, I am coming to the US in August. I'm going to need your support, your influence. So Jerry was one of the first women who came to the Herstory when I launched in 2019 in Las Vegas.
Can I interrupt you for just a second? I want to tell her something.
Yeah.
Denise, you are definitely a sister from a different mother.
I love that.
You described a big part of my life, and I'm grateful to know you.
Oh, thank you. That makes me feel good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, I'm sorry, Gertrude, but I was just
awesome. Dorothy is dropping in and out, and she's on right now. Dorothy, do you want to just pop in and say hi? She's having problems with her internet connection. She was supposed to be one of our speakers, but the location she's at is not, her internet is not well supported.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
Thank you,
Hello,
Gertrude. Hello, I'll put on my camera just now and hope it will, and hope my network will sustain it. Okay. I'll just put it on and off so
we see your face. Oh, there it goes again. Yeah, she's not in a good area, but she's in the UK. She was supposed to present today. She's presented for us before. Oh, there she is. Hey.
Hello.
Hello.
Good to see you.
How are you all? Oh, thank you very much, Gertrude. Thank you very much, everybody. And the stories that I've heard tonight are so inspiring. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Good to
I'm
have
so
you here.
glad to be part of this village. I am super, super, super excited. We are doing big things, ladies. Big things. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Being a part of the movement. So I was saying, yes. I'm going to the States in August. Jerry came to our first event, and I shared a story of how little girls in Zimbabwe don't go to school if they have a period. The government is not importing
Yes.
menstrual product that the poor can afford. Jerry converted her home into a factory. So we met in 2019. 2020, Jerry's house was a factory. She was working with a nonprofit called Days for Girls,
Yes.
and they were making reusable sanitary pads for girls in Guatemala, in South America. In a year, she made 1,000 kits. They come in a beautiful handmade bag with 7 pads for every day of the week. I mentioned that girls are getting raped because they don't have underwear. So she's included 2 pairs of panties, a small piece of soap, and a menstrual chart so the girls can learn how to count their days and know when their period is coming. I then partnered with another Zimbabwean woman who wrote a book in Shona, in our local languages, and in Ndebele about the menstrual cycle. And we're going to put that book in every one of these bags as well. And then COVID happened after they had worked so hard, made 1,000 kits. We were about to ship when COVID happened, and the shipping tariffs have been too high for us to ship. So we decided to wait until things have settled down and there's more flights going out. And then I said, Jerry, we need to make this sustainable. Please get us sewing machines and overlockers and come to Zimbabwe to train the women in the village to make the pads, and we create employment. The mothers get work, the kids stay in school. So we now have sewing machines. We now have overlockers sitting in California.
Oh my gosh.
So I need help on the ground in the US to pack these products, to ship them to Zimbabwe. If you can come with me again, come with me again. Okay.
Yes.
We need to raise the money to ship. So we're trying to get quotations. What I found to be the cheapest way is for us to send the goods as unaccompanied baggage. So if we got 5, 6, 10 women coming with us, we can ship the goods a week before we get on the flight. They have to sit for 48 hours at the airport, but we use our air tickets. That's going to be the cheapest way for us to ship. We've looked at DHL, we've looked at UPS. It's too expensive. So if you know other women who would like to come on a trip, please help us with this trip in August. So we haven't really firmed up anything yet. We're looking at air tickets, etc. The other thing I'm coming to the States for is I got the privilege of co-authoring a book with one of Oprah's friends. Denise, I need your help to get publicity around this book.
Sure.
Dr. Tererai Trent is a young woman who grew up in Zimbabwe, got married when she was 14, had 5 children by the time she was 18.
Oh, wow.
She ended up in the United States because she met a woman from America who came to her village, who asked her what she wanted to do with her life. And she mentioned that she would like to go to university. She wanted to finish high school, get a college degree. She is now a professor living in New York, a humanitarian who set up a foundation to pay for school fees for children in Zimbabwe. She ended up on Oprah's show. She's one of Oprah's best guests. Oprah built a school for her in Zimbabwe. She donated 1.5 million. And now she set up a fund to get girls to university in the United States. So the book, the proceeds for the book we've written is going to that foundation. I am trying to sell 40,000 copies of this book to raise $1 million for Dr. Tererai Trent's foundation. So we can get hundreds of girls to go to university from Zimbabwe and come to the United States. So when I come to the US, I want to print enough books and have a book launch in the US. So I might be there for 2-3 weeks, different cities, different towns, wherever you know anyone with influence, Denise, I need you to help me sell 40,000 copies of this book. So I'll be coming to the US for those two things. If it means that I delay coming so we can plan things, then we'll have to do that as well. I will just share a short video about Dr. Tererai Trent so you get to see who this woman is. And the impact that she has had. She is just one of the most phenomenal human beings on the planet, a real mover and a shaker, a woman who is making a difference and is using her influence to change the lives of thousands and thousands of girls in Africa. So I just want to find the right video. Just give me a second. Just talk in the meantime. Give me some ideas, Denise. What comes up for you when I talk about this project?
That I do have some people in my network that I believe that I can reach out to in hopes of spreading this book around and getting that out. My brain is already turning, and I got some people that owe me some favors anyway. So I'm definitely going to tell them this is something I want you to get involved in. And whatever else I can do, that is a definite yes. I'm going to definitely help with that. But anything else that I can do, please let me know.
Yeah, because what I feel is the power of collaboration, right? It's when we start collaborating, when we start joining forces, that is where impact really starts to happen.
Yes.
And as women, if we can just support each other, share our networks, share our contacts, we can create a ripple effect that goes a very, very long way. And this is what happens when women get together. So let me just show a 4-minute video about Dr. Tererai Trent. I think this is the shortest one I could find, but anyone can go online and watch more.
I wanted to surprise her because as often happens with people who are living from the fullest part of themselves, you work hard, you accomplish, and then you want to share those accomplishments, what you've achieved with other people. And so I wanted to help her make that dream come true. And so what did it feel to walk across that stage just this past year and get your doctorate degree?
It was so unbelievable. For 2 weeks, I had this euphoria feeling that it can't be. Then it dawned on me that yes, I have achieved it.
What is your dream now?
I feel I need to give back. It's not only about Tererai, but it is about thousands and millions of children that are out there, thousands and millions of girls that are not having the education. I need to build a school in my village so that the same girls that I see today, they don't have to go through what I did go through. And I think I can achieve to do that.
So you're trying to build a school.
I'm trying to build a school.
When Tererai was here in 2009, we got a glimpse at the horrible conditions of the school. The buildings are literally falling apart, holes in the ceilings, force children to sit along the walls when it rains. And most of the classrooms don't have desks, so the students do all their reading and writing on the floor. And the teachers have no supplies, and as a result, there's a dismal 14% pass rate. And so I wanted to just tell you that I have been so moved by your story. Your story is, at the core of everything I believe in the possibility of a human life here on Earth. And for that reason, I am going to help you rebuild your school. I'm donating $1.5 million. Yes. I'm donating $1.5 million to. That is the least I can do for you. And I'm going to give you some, and I want you to have help doing it because I know it's hard. Save the Children is going to spend 3 years working with teachers and children and parents in the area to improve literacy and basic education. So ultimately, 4,000 children will have a better education because of you. We're going to build a school together. We are going to build a school.
It is achievable.
And it is achievable. Ooh, that makes me so happy. That makes me so happy. You know, if you will roll the tape and you'll see that moment where when she first comes out and we first look at each other, that is just a solid moment. That is a woman to woman. That is a I see you. I know you. I know who you are, and I know what it takes to do what you have done. That's what I call holy moments, when you look at somebody and you feel the fullness of who they really are. That's what that moment is about. But the best moment for me is the moment when she actually looks away because she can't even hear it. She can't even receive it. She turns her head and she looks away because she's so filled up with, she can't believe that that's happened.
Isn't that beautiful?
Wow.
And I need to write a book with her. I'm just so. It's like, and do you know how I met her, Denise and Dorothy and Jerry? I did a podcast interview last year, and I've been following her on social media. She's like, this is who I want to be, right? This is what I'm trying to do. And I interviewed a woman from Michigan. She was on my podcast. Her name is Linda Slasinger. And about 3 weeks after her podcast interview went out, she called me and she said to me, Gertrude, send me your bank details. I said, Linda, what for? The podcast was for free. She said, yeah, I know. She said, I feel your work needs to be supported. I want to give you some money just to keep you going. So you hold on to your vision and your dream. Don't give up. You're onto something big here. Denise, 5 days later, this woman puts $5,000 in my account. And at that point, I was about to give up hope. And the next day, Dr. Trent posted on LinkedIn that she was trying to raise $100,000 to bring 10 girls to America. And I thought, this money came. I wasn't expecting it. I'll pull out $1,000 and donate towards her foundation. So I wrote her a personal note and I said, Dr. Trent, I've been following you for years. I love your work. I don't have money, but somebody's just donated some money to my foundation. And I want you now to look for $99,000. Here's $1,000. And then she wrote to me personally, and she was so touched. She said, I don't believe this. I haven't received this amount of money from a Zimbabwean person before. She said, let's catch up and talk on Zoom. So we started talking. I shared with her what I've been doing in Zimbabwe. And I said, you're like my twin sister. I've been following you for years. And then last year, she decided to put together this book. It's called The Sacred Promise. And she was looking for women. And out of 400 women, I got picked to contribute a chapter to this book. It's been an incredible ride, just incredible. And that's the power of giving, right? Sometimes you just have to keep giving. My grandmother used to say that this universe is like a giant bank. You have to keep depositing good deeds.
Yes.
And they come back tenfold from the most unexpected ways. And the way she got on the Oprah show is because she contributed a chapter to an anthology. She was invited to contribute a chapter in a book. The book ended up on Oprah's book club. And then Oprah got to know about her, and the rest is history. So, yeah, it's just amazing what can happen when you put yourself out there. So please help me. I need a strategy. I need a plan. I need influencers to help me sell 40,000 copies.
40,000.
Hit that mark to get hundreds of kids to go to university in the US. So that's the Dr. Tererai Trent Project. And we rise when we lift others. This is something that I really want people to get to know. Sometimes you might have a project of your own, but your power comes when you lift somebody else, when you put somebody else on your back. And we can all do this through our contacts, through the people that we know. You rise by lifting others. I had a woman who responded yesterday. I created a group, and I think, Dorothy, I added you to that group on WhatsApp. I reached out to all of the Zimbabwean women that I know worldwide. I put them in a WhatsApp group because I had their numbers. And I said, please contribute, share, add people to the group. One person came back to me and said, oh, I've heard about her. She's very influential. I've been trying to get through to her for years, and it's really difficult. But what you have to know is when you get to her level of status, she's bombarded with requests now. Everyone in Zimbabwe is asking her for help. So when she doesn't respond, it's just because she's overwhelmed. There's just too many people asking. And especially when you get on the Oprah show, people think you instantly have millions of dollars to give away, and that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to lift her. We have to support her because she has her feet in the ground in the US. She can get scholarships for these girls. She's the foot soldier in the United States who can get our girls to get an education. So let's support Dr. Tererai Trent as much as we can. So, Jerry, I know you have to go.
Yes, I wish I didn't have to go. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you for being here and holding space for all of these amazing stories these last few days. I will ask you to read the next bio for me before you go.
Okay, let me.
For Tracy Brosen.
Okay.
And I'll line up her video.
Okay.
Then we will release you to your family for the day.
Okay. Tracy Wilbur Warson. History tells us we can't belong unless we're the same. But what if we could create together based on our uniqueness instead? Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Tracy is a personal branding coach and community creator who is all about creating authentic human experiences, whether that's helping businesses support their employees in creating digital influence, coaching entrepreneurs to find their spark and make their contribution, or supporting job seekers in remembering their unique value. Tracy brings authenticity and the power of real human relationships to everything she does. Before starting her own business, TLB Coaching and AMP events, Tracy spent 18 years as a corporate marketer. After realizing that wasn't the path that made her desired contribution, Tracy quit her vice presidency to explore what could be possible to explore what would make her feel proud in her career. And she found it in creating communities that foster belonging around people's uniqueness. It is with great pleasure that we welcome Tracy to the platform.
Thank you so much, Jerry.
Love you.
Have a fantastic day. Love you. We'll catch up next week.
Okay.
everybody. My name is Tracy Borison. I am located in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I am currently 38 years old, and this is my story. When I was thinking about what kind of the turning point was for me in really my life, there's a couple, but one of the ones that's been so drastic for me was my decision to leave a corporate vice presidency and explore something else. So I, like a lot of people, I grew up with two parents who worked in the business environment and just grew up assuming that that was the path for me. And I went to business school and I majored in marketing because I didn't want to take the government and business class, and that meant we could only major in marketing. So I did that, and I got a job with the company that my dad was working for right out of university, stayed there for 4 years, and really felt very out of place. So many times I just would sit at my desk and think, what am I doing here? And what I didn't know at the time was that was me questioning my contribution and whether or not the contribution I was making was the contribution I was put on this earth to make. And so I kind of followed the flow of my career for a very long time. I got headhunted, and then I started working for a company that opened a new office in a different city. And I kind of I went where the quote unquote opportunities were, the predefined society standard opportunities that were taught are opportunities. And then I had my son. So I had my son a little bit older. I was 34 when I had him. And when I went back to work after that, I just was not the same person. I cared about different things. My values had changed. And it was an uphill battle for me to find a place at this company, which very much had a place for me before. And I tried to figure it out for about a year. And then I personally, although COVID has been very challenging for a lot of people, what it has gave me was an opportunity to look at what I was doing and whether or not that was how I wanted to be spending my time. So we were all locked down, and my husband and I were both working from home. My son couldn't go to daycare, and I could hear him like giggling downstairs, and I was working these like overly extended hours to get done work that I just didn't really care about doing. And at that point, I was just like, no, this is not a good trade. And going to work at this job for even one more day, knowing that it's such a bad trade, is not a good idea for me. And so I wrote my resignation letter and I quit. And I did not know if I was going to go find another job or if I was going to start my own business. So I just started talking to people. I started talking to the people that I knew who were consultants. I started sending out some resumes, interviewing with different companies. I worked on some like marketing freelance gigs because my background is marketing. And very luckily, and I will say luckily because this is the universe conspiring to make this happen, but I was working on a client writing their website content. And the lady said to me, wow, you sound more like me than I do. And I when I think about this moment, I always think like, oh, if copywriting was what I was meant to do, then I would have taken that as a compliment. But what that led me to question was like, why is that? Why do people not be themselves when they're showing up to write their website content? Or why do they have so much trouble showing up on social media and just being themselves when we have such an easy time doing that in person? But now we're in this environment that's just thrown us all into the digital landscape, and something got lost. We don't know how to show up like a human anymore because digital has been automated for so long, or 100 other reasons. But it really just piqued my interest in why do people not show up as their authentic selves? And this is what I am doing now, is just helping people break down those barriers of why they don't get to show up in front of people as their glorious, sparkly selves. And I will tell you the amount of contribution that I feel in being able to bring that to the world versus a automated marketing campaign, whole other level.
Wow. What a journey you have been on. Amazing. So now you are a professional copywriter working from home, correct?
I'm not actually a copywriter. So it was one of my the I think it was about October of 2020, the first time someone asked me to copyright, and I said no. I'm not going to be a copywriter because what I am is a coach. So I help people find their golden thread so they can say who they are, so they can say what they want, so they can stand for what they stand for and bring that to market in all of the places that they want to show up.
Oh, I love that. That is so beautiful. Now, if you could go back to just before you made this decision to venture into this new space and have a conversation with that younger woman, I'm pretty sure you had doubts, you weren't sure what you're doing was right. If you could go back and give her 3 nuggets of wisdom, what would they be?
Trust your gut would be one of them, because it's actually funny. In my transition, I think I let it get to the point where I was like so done that it wasn't actually a very hard decision. But there were things that led up to it that I could have paid more attention to, and it wouldn't have let it go so long. That one of the straws that broke the camel's back for me was on my birthday. My birthday 2020 was 5 days before I gave my resignation, and it was the straw that broke the camel's back that my boss was making me do this project, and I was sitting at home crying because it was my birthday and nobody had recognized that it was my birthday, and I was just being forced to work on this project that, for whatever, I don't even remember what the project was, but it was not important to me. And I clearly wasn't important to the company. So definitely trust your gut would be number one piece of advice. Number two would be try on whether or not these definitions of success, these goals, these strategies, these corporate ladders are actually right for you. Because when I was young, and I think business school, it's made a little bit of a transition, but when I was in business school, it was just like, this is the path you follow to be successful in business. It included being like learning how to golf so you could do business on the golf course. It's so old school now when I think about it, but nowhere along the line does anybody say, is that right for you? And actually give you the space to explore whether or not that's right for you, that that's something that you want to do. So if I could go back and give the younger version of me an opportunity, even just that peek into the possibility that there is a different way or there's more to explore here, then it would be interesting to see how that would have transpired and whether or not I would have gotten to where I am now quicker than going through all the pain. Although I will say, I think part of your journey is the pain, right? So I don't believe in erasing all pain. I don't believe as a parent that I can erase all potential pain for my son, but it would be interesting to explore what that have been like. And a third piece of advice would be to shine. I was in a lot of relationships, a lot of rooms, a lot of companies that were indifferent to me shining. And quite honestly, some of them were actively tarnishing my shine. And I didn't fight back against that, because we learn that if you're in a relationship, then you're supposed to compromise. And to me, what that was is I compromise my shine to make other people feel comfortable. And if I could go back, I would just say, never dull your shine because of another person. And I just feel like how much more confident, how much more heart connection would I have been able to have if I didn't let other people tarnish my shine.
Oh, wow. Wonderful words of wisdom there. So now you have this new life work balance. Are you working from home? How are you coping with that transition? A lot of women are wanting to do this and are unsure of how to balance out the two because you've got a young child, right? Tell us about that journey.
So here's the thing that I have learned about work-life balance. And for a long time, I didn't like to use the word balance because I think people perceive balance as 50-50. But what a balance is what is right for you. And what is right for me is not what is right for any other person. It's about the ability to find confidence in yourself to make the decisions that are right for you. So what's right for me is working from home. What's right for me is working 2 full days a week in which my son goes to grandma and grandpa's and spending the days with him at home 3 days a week. What is right for me is doing a walking workout every day so that I create space specifically for me instead of like work and family. I found at the beginning that I would create these 2 buckets, work and family, and somehow Tracy got lost in that combination. And so I had to reconfigure that for me. And I think that's an important thing to remember too, is that figuring out the balance is it's a balancing act, right? There's different things. Sometimes you have to have more time, effort, and energy on home and family life. Like we're in the middle of a move right now. And that means that there's a lot of personal stuff that happens, and the work stuff has to get balanced. Sometimes when I'm doing, like, we just relaunched my community, Your Business Peeps, on June 1st with new branding and everything. And that some more time was spent doing work. It's flexible. It evolves. It changes. It might change day to day. It might change within your day. And so I think being able to create that flexibility so that you can change it because you know that that's what's right for you is a really important thing. And yeah, it helps. And figuring out what's important to you, right? Like, is it important to you to have time to journal, to meditate, to work out, to have date night with your spouse, to have a special moment every day with your kids, which doesn't have to take a lot of time, but it does take intention. So when you can create that work-life balance with the right intention, then, and it's your intention, not someone else's intention for you, then that's where you really get that confidence to make the decision that works for you, regardless of it's something that would work for someone else.
Absolutely wonderful. Now, if I was a new client and I'm coming to you, I'm needing help. Take me through a step-by-step process on how you're helping women in particular who have their own brands, who have their own businesses.
Mm-hmm. So I believe that a personal brand consists of 3 foundational things. The first foundation is clarity. And it might seem like we know who we are. And deep down inside, we do. Our personal brand is something we carry with us our whole life. It doesn't go away. Sometimes it can get covered up and packed down pretty hard by external shoulds, how I should show up, what I should want to accomplish, should. And so the clarity piece is about peeling away the layers of societal, cultural, familial shoulds to get to who am I? And what is that part about you that actually lights you up, that you're so proud is part of you, that even if it was created by pain or trauma, that you wouldn't trade about yourself because you are so proud of who you are and how you can contribute based on that, you wouldn't want to erase it. So clarity is that first piece. If you don't have clarity, then the other 2 are not going to be highly productive. So clarity is where we need to start. The second is confidence. Obviously, you can't build confidence in a thing that you don't know you're building confidence on. And confidence is about showing up. It's about using your voice. It's about taking a stand. It's about saying what you want to say. It's about not letting the fear of judgment from other people be the thing that stops you. If you don't want to do a thing because you don't want to do a thing, don't do a thing. I'm not saying you should do all the things that you don't want to do. Sometimes it's your personal brand saying, no, that's not me. I'm not going to do that. And it's not about changing your mind about that. It's about embracing that and saying, okay, that's my brand. I'm going to do something else. But when you're called to speak, when you are called to take a stand, that you have the confidence in yourself to do that, regardless of whether or not in that moment you're standing alone. And then the third foundation is community. And community is about surrounding yourself with people who want your light to shine. There are, like I said in my own story, I was historically surrounded by people and places and work environments that had no interest in my light shining. And as an entrepreneur, it can also feel very hard because you're in the experience alone. At the end of the day, right? Like it's your business. You're going to make the decisions. You're going to be successful by your definition, or not successful. Although I don't believe in failure. I believe in failing forward. And if we don't fail, then we can't learn and we can't do things better. But even that, when surrounded by a community of people who believe in you, who are cheering you, who are like the biggest proponents of you shining your light on this world and just want to bask in the glow of who you are and what you do, having those people is just absolutely critical to finding success in those arenas. And whether it's one person or a whole community of people, that's really irrelevant, but we need to have somebody who can be that reflection back of us, of our light in those times where we feel like we're not very sparkly. So a coaching package with me includes all of those things so that by the time you get to the end of it, you actually can show up and say things regardless of what platform you choose to say those things on.
Fantastic. Well, this has been an interesting interview and really quite pivotal at this time where a lot of women are thinking about alternative ways to make a living, making deliberate choices. And like you said, it's your intention that creates everything going forwards. So I'm hoping that our listeners have managed to grab some little nuggets of wisdom from you today, Tracy. It's such a pleasure to reconnect with you after a couple of years since I last interviewed you, and just to see you transition into this entrepreneur who's now helping other women to get into that space. So thank you so much for coming online and gracing us with your presence.
Thank you, Gertrude.
And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Herstory movement has attracted some pretty phenomenal women. Every single day I come online, I'm talking to somebody in a completely different country, and it just is the air that I breathe now. I look forward to these interviews every day because I just don't know what story we will share. So come back again tomorrow, and Tracy would love to invite you to participate in our online summit in July. I'll email you some details about that because I really think there's a lot of women in our community who are needing help on getting their message clear, getting their online presence consistent, especially when it comes to branding, consistency, etc. So thank you so much for coming online today. Bye, everybody. Have a fantastic day, morning or evening, wherever you are in the world. Bye for now. Okay, that was the beautiful Tracy sharing her amazing story. Feedback, ladies. Feedback for Tracy's presentation. Denise, what was your biggest take home?
One of the biggest things for me was about, having the confidence to move forward in things. And I think that's part of my problem. That's one of my biggest problems is afraid of failure. And so she has certainly showed me just in a short time how to overcome these things and how to keep moving forward. And she does it. She's just her whole her whole personality is like success. It's just she just reeks success. The way she presents the information, the way she presents herself, she just seems like someone that's trustworthy, that can really help you to get where you need to be. I loved it. She was amazing.
Thank you. Thanks for that feedback. Dorothy, what was your impression of Tracy's presentation?
Wow, that was a brilliant presentation. For me, a couple of things. The first one for me is clarity. Who am I? That touched me a lot because, when she talked about, the importance of clarifying who you are and knowing who you are as part of the process of discovering your purpose. And it reminded me of, me back then being a people pleaser, wanting to make sure that I'm pleasing everyone and I'm not disappointing anybody. And you and I know that it's not possible. You cannot, follow your passion and do what you have to do if you care what other people think of you. So when she said, peel away those layers, those societal layers, she really spoke to me and reminded me of that fact that I don't need to think of what people will say. I just need to do what I know is right. Because I'm led by values and principles that define me, and values and principles that are based on Ubuntu. You are because I am. I am because you are.
Yeah.
So, that one was a takeaway for me, and I'm running with it. And when she touched on confidence, also, that's another area for me that has been a big deal. Being afraid of doing things, being afraid of failure, not having the confidence to do things. I've been for a long time hiding, I've been working underground, and my motto always, even now, my motto is I touch one life at a time. But even then, I wouldn't even think of sharing my story until I met you, Gertrude. And thank you very much, by the way. You're such an amazing person, such an amazing woman. You gave me the courage to stand up and say, this is my story. And since I talked about my story, I'm unstoppable.
That's it.
I am
That's it.
unstoppable.
And we have to honor our stories, and we have to allow them to breathe.
Yes. Yes.
We have to allow these stories to breathe. And the ripple effect that comes in the sharing of the stories is what amazes me. I get emails from people saying, I watched your podcast on YouTube, or I listened to it on Spotify, and you changed my life. There is somebody who's waiting to hear your story. And your story becomes the light at the end of the tunnel for somebody else. The beautiful Velvet has just joined us. Velvet, you were chiming in on Facebook there, and it's good that you could join us.
Oh, I've just been so inspired by everyone today. Please, everyone who's spoken, contact me.
I will put you in touch with Isaiah. I know that you have a passion for Africa as well. Just introduce yourself, Velvet. Tell everybody your experience and your Zimbabweanness and your Africanness as well.
So my Africanness is ever present, even though I don't seem very obviously African. It's my spirit of, I feel like I've connected through of 16 years and my children, but the story has changed, but I'm still very passionate about Africa. I'm working with musicians in Africa. I'm actually setting up a school of art and music in Africa as we speak. And my desire is to just teach the nature of their culture to them again, give them the opportunity to learn their own instruments and their own culture, rather than the strip mining and the monoculture of my mum's bringing me a cup of tea, and thank you. I'm actually not at my house today. I'm somewhere else completely. And a bowl of, look at this fruit that I just got.
Oh, wow. You're being spoiled. Hey, Mom, I want some
Wow.
too.
Yeah. But yeah, my School of Art and Music in Zimbabwe, I want to actually provide all of the instruments that are just traditionally Zimbabwean to these children in full sets. I want to gift every child an instrument that they can learn and actually have for their lifetime, just to bring back that pride of culture and that sense of self-purpose, and gift a way of dealing with the trauma of not having a lot of the things that, well, just to take away that desire to have the West, to bring back the pride of culture, and to gift that natural element of purpose and self-expression. The voice is everything, and song is everything, community is everything. So yeah, I envisage permaculture gardens and a well, actually now around
Wow.
merry-go-round, water pump, solar panels, and a hub of technology for the whole community to use, but within that, music that binds everyone together, and art that binds everyone together, and just the tools of expression that we all need to share and grow as a community, to bring back that vital center of being. And yeah.
Oh, I hope we haven't lost it. You're
So
supposed to sing
Wow.
for us. Please don't drop it before you sing.
So actually, the previous story we just heard, my purpose is also absolutely 100% around finding that golden thread in each person. I work in disability. I work across homelessness, and just with people in general, children, all, in schools, to find that voice, to find that expression, to find that center of self and that core of being that you can be so proud of and that you can share with the world, and to just draw that out of people. That's my passion as well. So the previous speaker and I, I'm not I didn't come from business background, but I've always been an artist, and I'm a singer and a musician, and I have studied 7 years of visual art. I grew up as a creative being, and I've maintained, I feel like I'm my 5-year-old self, actually. Like I've come back to being
Wow.
just who I knew as a child almost, which is a remarkable thing. But not only that, I'm now, Gertrude, you don't even know this, I'm the president of a not-for-profit organization, and the artistic director. So I'm starting a School of Art and Music now in Brisbane as well. And yeah, so I'm the president. I was voted the president.
Oh, that is
Wow.
amazing. Congratulations, Mel.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
That is awesome. So you're going to sing for us this morning?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know you don't have your instruments, but we're going to exit stage and let you take the stage, okay?
I usually have my instruments with me, because I'm with my mum and dad. I don't have anything. And as per usual, this is very spontaneous. Gertrude just wrote.
You have your voice. I know, so long as you show up and your voice is working, we have music.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll exit. Give us a second and then take it away.
It's so funny. I'm also on my phone, and it's this, trying to angle it to be in the center of the picture is very difficult. All right. I move inside, around, ebb and flow, mapping ephemeral gestures as I go. Each mark informs the next on this earth canvas, impassioned, transient revelations of you, concentric circles, tidal waters they renew. Being here I'm swimming in the whites of your eyes, consumed by the rhythm in the rising tides, swimming in the whites of your eyes, consumed by the rhythm in the rising tides. Let it that the let it that the yeah, I move inside around ebb and flow, mapping ephemeral gestures as I go. Thank you. So I'll just keep singing. You're drawing me in layers as I lay my life on paper, mapping the dirt beneath my feet. My brush strokes you in sweet surrender. Dark night falls as daydreams render. You're drawing me in layers as I lay my life on paper, mapping the dirt beneath my feet, the dirt beneath my feet. The shadow on the wall, it reminds me of your peace. The light flickers in the room, revealing your face. How I stand in awe, how I stand in awe of you. La da dun dee do yellow, la da dun dee do ye, la da dun dee do yellow, la da dun dee dee, but dun dee dun la da dun dee do yellow, la da dun dee do ye, la da dun dee do yellow, la da dun dee dee, but dun dee dun dee. It's you. Way. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's you. Your way. La, da, 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 da. The shadow on the wall, it reminds me of your peace. The light flickers in the room, revealing your face. How I stand in awe, how I stand in awe of your grace. My head held high, whirling with the wind. I've become Sky Mountain. My river veins, they course into the sea, mirroring worlds within me. Intrinsic nature, processing new insights, realms of flight, a revolution of self-perspective conscience, stripped bare of narrow definitions and the obtuse desire to be other than self-reflexive. Nature will forge your way, taste, but be sure not to waste the seeds sown on the inside. Nurture new beginnings, for the mind heart can see, for the mind heart conceives. Sound waves peak and fracture oceans of vast white linear perspective, heart's exacerbation ensuing immense illumination. Just be here now, more than words. Just be here now. Yeah, yeah. Just be here now, more than words. Be here now. Take time, move slowly, contemplating infinite progression for deep in the heartbeats of your contribution to that symphony. Just be here now, more than words. Just be here now. Yeah, yeah. Just be here now, more than words. Be here now. Take time, move slowly, contemplating infinite progression for deep in the heartbeats, your contribution to that symphony. This one's for you, Gertrude. Woye tatsungaira, venvanye tatsungaira, mesongo woye. Amboyini honda mutumu woye tatsungaira, venvanye tatsungaira, mesongo woye. Amboyini honda mutumu woye tatsungaira. Venvanye tatsungaira masangu boye. Sevens on esimba kushinga vakamana. Ivainesu mori baba Ivainesu. Ivainesu mori baba Ivainesu. Ivainesu mori baba Ivainesu. Ivainesu mori baba Ivainesu.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh. Velvet, you just warm my heart. Tell you, you have no idea what your music does for me. Thank you for being you.
You're welcome. I love being
a channel of inspiration and love and joy and just a full expression of who you are. You show up 100% every single time I ask you to show up, and I do not take that for granted. Thank you so much.
We have a bit of a glitchy kind of connection because I'm just on my phone.
That.
Yeah. Sorry
Oh
about that.
man. So Dorothy, what do you think hearing our Shauna songs being sung this Sunday morning or Saturday evening for you? Unmute yourself. We can't hear you, Dorothy.
Oh, I was lip syncing it. I almost sang with her. Then I remembered that there was going to be a voice over. You know, I'm so excited actually. You know, Gertrude, I once worked at the Zimbabwe College of Music.
Oh, really?
And yes. I worked at the Zimbabwe College of Music. I worked at the National Arts Council of Zimbabwe, and I'm a theater artist myself. So when I see somebody like Velvet, I just feel like, wow, we need more people like that. Velvet, I need to know where your school of music is.
Yeah, I can give you those. I don't have it on me right now, but I can give you a link, not a link, but I'll discuss.
Thank you so much. That would help.
early stages, but I have the building and there's students, and I have instruments even, but it's just starting. I only was just voted president literally 3 nights ago, so I'm on a mission now to get it all
Wow.
out and to have
Wow.
yeah, but I'm so excited to create
Wow.
through artistic and music ventures, and just finding each person's passion individually and helping them to retrieve and to run with it. But my school is also going to be about rehabilitation, so it's an inside out school. It's a school that will help you with new teeth if you need new teeth. It's a school that will help you with whatever is stopping you from actually achieving your goals, whether it be something physical that's stopping you, or meant like we're gonna there's no assessment, there's no kind of judgment around it. It will be entirely tailored to each individual and what they need. But my goal is in Zimbabwe definitely to gift an instrument to every child so that they have something that they can always play.
Brilliant.
And
Wow.
instead of
Wow.
a full set of Mbiras, a full set of Ngoma, a full set of Hosho, like everyone to have the chance to actually
Oh,
build
brilliant.
community
Yeah.
around.
I want to be linked with that. I want to be
Yeah.
linked with that. Yeah. Thank you so
That's
much.
just awesome. Absolutely
Wow.
awesome. Now, Velvet, you know that I need your help this month with my one-woman show. I told you that I am putting together a one-woman show.
Okay.
I got picked by a theater company here in Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to put together a 1-hour production. It's poetry, prose, and song.
Mm-hmm.
So can I connect with you tomorrow? I want you to be my voice teacher. I want to learn some of those songs that you sing and just help me with ideas on how I can. It's based on a book that I'm writing called The Diary of the African Nomad.
Oh wow, okay, beautiful.
So it's a collection of poems I've written as I've traveled around the world, short little stories of my little anecdotes, and yeah. So can we talk tomorrow?
We can absolutely talk. I'll talk to you.
We haven't talked for a while. I know.
There's
All right.
been a lot going on, but definitely connect and let's do it.
I will catch up with you tomorrow. I'll send you a message on Facebook and then we can just jump on a Zoom call.
All right.
But thank you for today. Absolutely beautiful and inspiring as usual.
Actually, to get through tomorrow, Monday, I work from like 8 in the morning through till I get home at 9 p.m. in the evening. So tomorrow, it could be a good time to actually talk on the phone, but in terms of focused Zoom call, maybe Tuesday is better.
Okay. Well, that's good. I want your full attention.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, no, so I'll contact you on Tuesday.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So the beautiful Denise had to go. Family and friends have just arrived. Her son and daughter-in-law stopped by. Denise, thank you for being with us today and sharing your testimonial on coming on a trip to Zimbabwe. More people need to hear how safe it is, how wonderful Zimbabwe is. So thank you for sharing your story with us today. So our next guest is coming to us from the DRC, from the Congo. The Herstory movement is supporting men, it's supporting women, anybody who's making a difference in terms of social impact in the world. And I met this man on LinkedIn. I'm going to hopefully pronounce his name right. Pacific Sukisa Makasi. He's from Kinshasa, Congo, DRC, and he was a politician. Now, for several years, he's been in poultry farming management in Burundi and South Africa, winemaking in South Africa, private security services in South Africa, and administration of a law firm in South Africa as well. Also a nonprofit organization and human rights leader in both South Africa and the DRC, and a political activist. He has a very amazing story. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It's an honor to have you as part of our tribe.
Suki Samakasi, originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo, and I'm based in Kinshasa, but currently visiting my family in South Africa. To start with, as a young boy or as a young man, I wished to become a farmer, but unfortunately, in my 20s, I realized that my country was not really promoting a good environment for such projects. So I decided to join human rights activism, and on later stage became involved in political activism. And my political activism was more about promoting a stable, peaceful, and prosperous DRC. But again, I came to realize that politics was maybe not the proper platform for me to contribute on such a better DRC. So I have decided to launch a non-profit organization, non-governmental organization that is aiming at the very stable, peaceful, and prosperous DRC as our vision. And our missions are non-violent civic engagement in governance and development issues, to voter education, training, and capacity building on citizens' rights, tolerance, and development. And then three, gender equality and equity as guided by the SADC Protocol on Gender and Development. Four, centrality of servant leadership, which puts citizens first and prioritizes national objectives and identity. Four, respect for human rights as enshrined in the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights, African Charter of Human and People's Rights. Five, knowledge through research, documentation, and information dissemination. Six, partnership with both local entrepreneurs and international organizations that share our values and development. In other words, non-violent and democratic principles. Seven, outreach to all citizens, regional organizations, and international community for promoting the DRC citizens want and stand for, as well as our identity as an organization. And then eight, development programs and project support. Our core values will be or are reliability, non-violence, impartiality, accountability, and transparency. Basically, that's about me and about the non-profit organization we are currently working on, and which we have named New Need. My apologies. That we have named the New Beginning DRC. I thank you.
Thank you so much for that introduction of your work. Now, your passion for farming. I'm fascinated because my father was into market gardening. I grew up on a small 10 acres of land. We grew everything from vegetables to fruits. We had chickens, pigs, goats, cows, everything.
Interesting.
So where are you? where are you now in terms of manifesting that vision?
Honestly speaking, farming remains number one thing to do on my list if I really have to be given a chance to. We currently have a piece of land in the DRC, precisely in the Katanga province, not far from the DRC and the Angola border. And I wish I was really able to venture into that, but like one always say, freedom fighter in our continent hardly access the necessary economic means one needs to adventure on such a project. But should I get partners willing to do farming, I really would love to venture into that as soon as one can.
So how big is your piece of land and what kind of farming would you get involved in?
That piece of land is a 10 hectare piece of land. And my passion in farming has always been poultry farming, chickens, if I may. And why do I like poultry farming? It is because it is highly nutritious in a DRC way. Malnutrition is really a bad thing against young people, mainly children. And also it is easy to start and easy to maintain. And again, that's my line of work. I did agricultural education, even though I didn't qualify academically. But I have a national diploma in agriculture, veterinary medicine, and have worked on poultry farms in Burundi and South Africa on big commercial and modern farms.
That is amazing. We are actually starting a poultry project in Zimbabwe where we are empowering, small scale farmers to keep the chickens, and we buy them and utilize the meat to start a feeding program in the rural schools of Zimbabwe. So maybe this is something we could collaborate with you and spread it across the continent. You never know.
Why not? Yes.
So in terms of implementing something like that, how much support would you get from your government? Is there any challenges that can come in the way if you were to get sponsors to help and support the project like that?
I can't see any challenges one would be faced with on that currently, except the ongoing political tensions, which I hope are not affecting the Katanga province part where I'm talking about. Yes,
so
ma'am.
There would be no barriers to get a project up and running.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But honestly, you just spoke my language, farming.
I love that.
And again, talking about feeding children in rural areas, you again once touched my heart, because I'm myself from a small rural area, small village, if I may. And my dad was a farmer who did not only farm for my family, but also for the neighborhood. and especially again that he was a nurse, a medical nurse, so you can understand how this feeding of malnourished children mean a lot to me. And beside that, even I remember before I met my wife, who is originally from Katanga, her passion was feeding children. And I believe she worked with the UNICEF or World Vision on that very program. So talking about farming and especially feeding the children in need of proper nutrition makes my day.
That is just awesome. Yeah, I think when people start working together, collaborating, sharing ideas,
yes,
we can change the face of Africa, especially communities where there isn't access to resources. Zimbabwe is in trouble in that sense. We are trying to build a clinic, we're trying to build a library, and we're trying to start a microloan program, giving people 100 chickens each, and then collecting them collectively and then distributing them through the schools. So a lot can be done there. What else can you grow on your piece of land? Are there any cash crops that you're thinking of?
Vegetables have always been the best option. Talking about feeding children, and in some cases, maize will always be one of our best choices. Talking about Zimbabwe, I know Zimbabwe very well, and just stayed there for about 3 years.
Okay, which part of Zimbabwe?
Unfortunately, I was there as an asylum seeker.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. But
which part of Zimbabwe do you know?
Yes, we lived in Harare, but we lived in the Chipinge district as well.
Eastern Highlands.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that part, yes.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm glad we were able to give you a safe haven when you needed it.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the people of Zimbabwe. Yes.
I love that. I love that.
Thank you. Mm-mm.
So if I could take you into the future and you could be 100 years old, based on your mission and your vision and where you want life to go, if you could sit with 100-year-old you who has created a successful farm, is feeding thousands of children with chickens and vegetables, let's just imagine that possibility. If you could have a conversation with that man, what would you say to him based on how you're living your life and what you're trying to achieve now?
I would thank that man for venturing into LinkedIn and the meeting, falling on mentors like Gertrude, and basically that, thanking God and thanking LinkedIn. You know,
I love
a 50-year-old person like me who does not know where to go next, falling on a mentor like you is one of the blessings one can thank God for at that 100-year time. Yes. And especially. Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
I was going to say, I do believe that we don't bump into people by accident. You know, even when we connected on LinkedIn, I had no idea you had a project that is so similar to mine. This is very, very magical that everything is so in alignment, very much in alignment with the vision and the mission I'm on as well.
And to even be a bit funnier than I already am, I will send you a project on that I wrote in 2002.
Right.
After this conversation, I will send it straight to you and look at it, and we'll see that that's what I meant to do exactly. But when I repatriated to the DRC in 2003 from South Africa, where I had been an asylum seeker for a couple of years, I realized that the country wasn't really at the time of launching such organizations, but I have such a project since 2002.
Oh, wow. So it's been in your heart for a very long time.
Yes, and a project that I started when I was 14 years old, but I had to acquire appropriate skills. That's how I ventured into veterinary agricultural education, and
Yes.
have been in a couple of countries hunting for more skills on agriculture.
Oh, I love this.
Yes, ma'am.
So, is there anything I should have asked you and I didn't in this interview?
I couldn't say for the moment. Like I said, I'm overwhelmed to the point that I don't think I have the power to try and figure out something else. Because honestly speaking, what I have at heart is agriculture, and not only for my survival or money making, but to benefit the society around me, mainly children, since I come from a village where many children have always been affected by malnutrition and hunger as we speak.
Yeah. So let me end our interview with a short video that I prepared, that I've been sharing about my project in Zimbabwe. Then you will get to see what I've done and the vision that I have. Well, I'll play the video and then we'll catch up for a few minutes before we say our goodbyes, okay?
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay, let's see here. I think I'll have to cue it up from the internet. Give me a second. Yeah, God works in mysterious ways.
Indeed,
I'm on a quest to connect with as many people of African descent who have a passion around children, primarily, because I believe that they are the next generation that will look after us. So we need to look after them.
Exactly.
We need to look after the next generation. Otherwise, we are in trouble. We are in serious trouble.
Yes, you are right. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so let me share my screen and we'll play this little 5-minute video before we close the show. So share screen. It's only 5 minutes. So here we go. They say a picture tells 1,000 words. Did you know that lack of clean drinking water is the biggest cause of infant mortality in developing countries, and that 80% of children die before the age of 5? Water systems powered by solar technology are the solution. I installed a borehole in our community. It was powered by a submersible pump, and this totally transformed an impoverished community in Mazibisa village, where I'm from. It not only gave people clean drinking water, but water to cook with, to wash with, and to plant food. In 2007, we had a drought, then we had torrential rains. Zimbabwe is now one of the poorest countries in the world, and we are a country without a currency. Zimbabwe's inflation hit 516 quadrillion%. So the government had to scrap the Zimbabwean dollar and we are trading in US dollars. And for most people who don't have children who live overseas, there is no access to physical cash. We have gone back to bartering for very basic food commodities like sugar and salt and fuel. So when I took over the school, we had torrential rains, and most children were eating 2 or 3 times a week if they were lucky. The buildings in rural schools in Zimbabwe are completely dilapidated. The government has not touched infrastructure in 25 years. There's no stationery, no books, no pencils, no tables, no chairs. Most teachers take the children outside and teach them how to read and write in the sand. So when we installed electricity, it changed everything. The school was able to pump the water and supply clean water to drink, to flush the toilets. Diarrhea was reduced because of this. We were also able to start a feeding program because we were in the middle of a drought. And that feeding program forced the villagers to send under 5-year-old children to the school so they could get breakfast. It was an advantage for me. So I started a preschool, and the prerequisite is children have to come to school. They don't go out and look after the goats and the cows. We went from 250 children to 550 within 3 months because of this. So food and water are a big priority. So having access to renewable energy, really what we need. Right now, Zimbabwe does not have a reliable electricity supply. If this community is lucky, they'll get electricity 1 or 2 days of the week. You're not told when it's coming. So sometimes it comes in the middle of the night, which means you can't even switch on the pump and pump the water. So we're back to where we were in 2001. The other vision is to provide healthcare. I'll share a short little video of a project that I started collecting books for the children and how we're going to build the first health clinic in this community.
So this is what we've managed to do so far. By giving presentations and talks in schools all over New Zealand, within 3 months, I managed to collect 65,000 books. So come in and have a look. All of these are books that have been donated by various people around New Zealand. And I am really excited at the quality of the books that we got. And these are books that were going to be thrown away, and we have no reading material. Encyclopedias, we've got volumes and volumes of encyclopedias. What's really exciting me is that the children in our village are now teaching adult literacy programs after school. I used to think that I had to take these kids through, get them through so they could go back to our community and help, but already children under the age of 12 are responsible for teaching adults how to read.
Having electricity and renewable energy is more sustainable for developing countries like Zimbabwe. And EcoGen could be the solution that we have been waiting for. These pods will not only allow us to use the excess electricity for the school and the community, but the community can also earn cryptocurrency, which will replace the need for physical cash in these developing countries as well. So I'm really excited to be a part of this project. Okay, so that's my small project. You can see now that we have the same vision, right? The same mission is to go back to our communities and make a difference.
Honestly, I wish I met you when you just started this.
Well, you've met me now. This is the time that God decided for us to meet.
I don't know what to say. Honestly, I'm speechless.
Oh.
I'm speechless.
Yeah.
I'm speechless.
Yeah. Life is
Speechless.
mysterious. Life is a mystery.
It is in. And if I may add something, please.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have farming I said I would have sent you was written in 2002. And
Right.
sometimes one wishes he or she knew what he or she knows now then. And talking about renewable electricity, water supplies to rural areas, healthcare facilities, you know, I feel like saying, please make you a branch of your big tree, and then I learn from you and get it started.
We learn from each other. We learn from each other. I don't have farming qualifications. I just have a passion because I know the power of what we can do with Africa's soil. So you will come in with your expertise. I'll come in with my expertise, and we will definitely make something happen. So I'm going to connect you with my brother in Zimbabwe. I'll email you a document that he put together that we're using to get some funding for the Zimbabwe project. Have a look at it, give me some feedback. If we can add things, take things away. It's still a working document, so we can see how we can secure investments. The investors I am working with are looking for nonprofits that have a for-profit angle so that things are sustainable. So you're not relying on donations all the time. So everything that you're talking about is very much in alignment with the vision. My nonprofit is called Africa Thrive. It started as a nonprofit. It is now a for-profit business because raising money through donations is a total waste of time. I created a tourism company, and I take people to Zimbabwe. I charge $15,000 for my trips. They spend 10 days in a community with no electricity, no running water. People come and experience what it is to be African and in a third world country. The last 5 days, it's 5-star. I take them to Victoria Falls, whitewater rafting, bungee jumping, all of that stuff. And I have had guests who have come back 3-4 times to support my project. So that's a business model that we can apply to your country as well, where we're not relying on handouts. We create something that is sustainable, that doesn't depend on donors. I do believe it's possible in every single African country. So I'm looking forward to meeting you when I come to Zimbabwe in August. I fly in through South Africa. So maybe if you're in South Africa, we can travel together to Zimbabwe and you can see the little that I've managed to do in our community. But thank you so much for coming online.
Can I add one small thing that's just
yes,
my mind?
Yes.
Talking about Zimbabwe, remember I said that my family and I spent about 3 years in recently. And when we came back to South Africa, we came to live in an area where crashes are very, very expensive. And then you have Zimbabwean ladies with young babies who didn't know how to go to work because they didn't know where to leave their children. And as I speak, my wife, my 17-year-old boy, my 15-year-old daughter have started the so-called children, what do you call it? Not a crash.
Daycare.
Yes, they have no space to really look after the children yet. But when we took a place, my wife and the two children said, no, there are many Zimbabwean ladies here with children. They are working for some Chinese and so on. Why can't we look after their children as a way of giving back to the community? And as I speak, my wife and those two children are looking after about 7 children.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they have been told that where we are staying is a residential place. They can't keep the children there. So they are now looking after them in one very unsafe place. But what you just said makes me think maybe she should join you on your projects as well. She's really in it. She's very passionate. She tells me all she wants to do, if she has to thank God, is to do something for the children.
Okay, so we need to connect. This is just the beginning of many meetings. Use my booking link, and let's book an appointment for sometime next week.
Yes, please.
Maybe an hour or two earlier than the time we started today.
Yes, please. That's around 9 South African time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, use that booking link, and let's connect and see how we can help each other, how we can get all of these projects to come to fruition. So let me thank everybody who has been on the show today. This is the magic of the Herstory Circle movement. You know, every day I interview people that I meet on LinkedIn that are recommended by other people, and I never know who God is going to put in my path. I'm excited to have met my brother from DRC, and I can see that we will do something phenomenal if we join forces and collaborate and work together. So thank you so much for agreeing to come online and be interviewed by me today.
Thank you so much for thinking about me and knowing that reading my small brain and my heart. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I will be back again tomorrow with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And bye for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow. What an amazing day we have had so far. My program will end with one more presentation today. I have to thank Pacific for his contribution, the work he's doing around children in the DRC, in Zimbabwe, in South Africa. I think we can all play a small part in other people's lives this way. And I really commend him for his work. My last presenter for today is coming to us from Bolivia, a young woman by the name of Annalena. Annalena is a woman that I found through LinkedIn. Her surname is Ekton. I hope I'm pronouncing that wrong. But she is into community development and human rights and lives in Santa Cruz, Bolivia. So yes, the Herstory movement has extended to South America as well. She says, I'm a community development practitioner and educator with experience on working on many different projects within the nonprofit section, both in the US and abroad. This led me to be skilled in coordinating teams of international volunteers, organizing fundraising campaigns, and great project management in nonprofits. I also have experience as a teacher and a tutor in the field of English as a second language, and I'm pursuing a master's degree in international human rights. I'm passionate about international law, sustainable development and environmentalism, preserving indigenous cultures and at-risk languages in Latin America, equal access to education, fiber arts, artisan collectives, human rights work of all kinds, particularly when connected with empowering vulnerable women and girls in defending Indigenous territories. So, Annalena, I am really excited to have met you. The group of women that you have brought onto our platform are absolutely phenomenal. You formed a group on LinkedIn, on WhatsApp, and every 2 minutes I see another person joining that group. It really excites me that you are a part of our movement and you are extending the movement to the Latin world. Big advantage is that you do speak Spanish, which was another thing I was looking for. So welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe.
Hi everyone, my name is Annalena Sofia Ekton. I am currently based in eastern Bolivia, right in the heart of South America, in a city called Santa Cruz de la Sierra, which is very close to the border with Brazil and the Amazon rainforest. Originally, I am from Oregon, United States. I am 24 years old. And this is my story. Thank you for listening. So going back to my childhood, I'll start with a little mental picture that I still remember from when I was very young. I had a blue bumper sticker. I don't know why it was a bumper sticker, but it was tacked onto my closet as a child. It was in my childhood bedroom, all growing up. And it said, "Little girls with dreams become women with vision." I'm not sure who that quote is by. I still don't completely know, but that had a big impact on me subconsciously, I think, as a child. So as I said, I grew up in Oregon. I was born and raised in the Pacific Northwest part of the United States on the West Coast, mostly in Oregon and Washington. I was born in Vancouver, Washington, actually. And I had a very wild imagination as a child. I definitely believed in magic, fairies. I even thought I had imaginary friends. I was kind of a pixie fairy kid who just ran around in the woods having a good time. I grew up in the Waldorf community in Portland, Oregon. So if you know what Waldorf is, you know it's very alternative. It's very progressive. Some people love it, some people hate it, but I learned a lot from that community. I had a good experience all in all. And I also learned a lot from nature and the respect for Mother Earth that I acquired during my time there. I was in Waldorf from preschool all the way up to 8th grade, many, many years. So I've always loved nature. When I was young, this is kind of a running joke in the family, funny anecdote, I used to get lost in sunsets and sunrises. And my parents always laughed and told me that I would say to them when we were watching the sunset, that watching a sunset from a nice viewpoint with a nice view was way better than TV. I didn't grow up with a lot of TV because of Waldorf school. So they like to remind me of that. And I think it's sweet looking back at my younger self. I'm really grateful for how they taught me to love and respect the earth, and also the value that they placed on learning from past and present Indigenous cultures in the Pacific Northwest and globally, from both of my parents. We spent a ton of time exploring all parts of the Pacific Northwest in the US and learning from the landscape. And I'm really, really grateful for that. It really shaped me into the person I am today. I always feel at home in nature, no matter where I am in the world, even if the landscape is completely unfamiliar and different. I believe people and things come and go, but the earth is always there for you, and that's really comforting to me. On a slightly heavier note, I didn't know the full extent of this until recently, but I did go through some serious traumas as a child that really impacted my psyche and my soul believe in souls. I definitely do. And so mental health issues, which is anxiety and depression, were born in me pretty early. And they came and went, kind of ups and downs. It's like a wave, they say. Sometimes it's visible, sometimes it's invisible, and that is just kind of how mental health is for most people. So I really threw myself into school, probably as a distraction in hindsight, but I really loved learning. I would read for hours and hours and hours. Books were my passion when I was in the city and I wasn't in nature. The public library was one of my absolute favorite places in Portland, and I would just get lost in stories. I loved stories. I told everyone when I was 3 or 4 in preschool that I wanted to be a writer and open a bookstore with my best friend at the time, Chloe. Don't know where she is in the world, but I hope she's doing well. That was my big dream in preschool, and sounds pretty great. So if I find Chloe at some point, maybe we'll start something. But I always loved books, and I'm trying to come back to that as an adult. I've always liked to write and read other people's stories. Art has always been a big part of my life as well. It's been really healing for me. I do all different types of art, from charcoal painting, watercolor. I also really love to knit and crochet with natural fibers whenever I can. I make jewelry too because I love rocks. I called myself a rock collector when I was a kid. I love rocks, fascinated by them. So I just love creating things with my hands. I love everything handmade. I love going to artisan markets. That's one of the reasons why I'm currently in South America. And it's probably from Waldorf, probably from my family. My mom's an artist as well. My dad has his creative outlets. But I've just always known that I've loved being a creator, and that's a big part of who I am. And it's also really healing for me in terms of coming into myself and being grounded and mindful. When I was a teenager, I experienced some more trauma when I was a young teen, sadly. And there were more struggles that came along with that. Still come up sometimes. My parents went through a really, really hostile, long divorce, and it was painful for everyone involved. It's painful for the whole family. So I got my high school credits out of the way, applied to a ton of colleges, and then graduated a semester early and left home to essentially travel the world at age 18. And if I'm being completely honest and transparent, I kind of just left without looking back. I was definitely escaping and running from my problems a little bit. During my high school graduation, I was actually on a beach in the middle of nowhere in Ecuador watching dolphins, and it was great, but I was very removed from everyone. So at 18, I essentially flew to Argentina by myself with 2 bags and this big dream of traveling the whole continent, South America, by myself. I was pretty young and naive. I'm still pretty young, but I think a little less naive. I ended up falling in love pretty much immediately, falling in love hard, like full on puppy love, with my then partner, who is also my current partner. And we just fell for each other immediately, and he ended up quitting his job, selling his dog, and we traveled through Argentina, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, and Colombia together for 4 months on a tiny, tiny budget, staying in a bunch of dodgy hostels and working our way through whenever we could, doing work away stuff. We were on a tiny budget, and we had just met each other, but we were having the absolute time of our lives. Still to this day, probably the happiest I've ever been. It was incredible, absolutely incredible. So I knew that South America was my home at that point. I could feel it, but I did come back to the US for college for various reasons. And I studied international development and social change. That's the name of my major at Clark University in Worcester, Massachusetts, on the East Coast of the US. I specialized in human rights in Latin America, which was actually a self-designed specialization because Clark is pretty open-minded, and my academic advisor was very patient with me, thankfully. I've never really been the kind of person who just goes with the flow, goes with the pack. I have my moments where I'm kind of a lone wolf, but then I like to think that I find other lone wolves and we create a nice pack together of people with introverted tendencies. I spent 2 semesters abroad while I was in college, one in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and one in Santa Cruz, Bolivia, where I currently am right now. They both were great experiences for different reasons. I learned a ton during both experiences, and I grew a lot as a person in different ways in each country, but they really shaped me in a positive way. My Spanish also improved a lot. And at that point, I realized that human rights work in South America or Latin America in general was definitely my calling, and I really wanted to come back post-graduation and live here. I was really drawn to indigenous art and culture in particular, and also environmental justice issues and sustainability in general, just because of how much I love nature, love protecting nature. And then COVID hit, and that disrupted my plan, everyone's plans. The world kind of exploded. So that was during my very last semester in college, beginning of my last semester at Clark. I was evacuated. I flew out. I packed up my entire life, everything, and flew out the next day. Moved home to Oregon with my family for quarantine. My partner was with us. He actually got stuck in the US during quarantine. And my 2020 college class didn't have a graduation at all. Everything was online, completely disconnected. My brother and I are about 4 years apart, and he was graduating high school at the same time, and everything was weird and confusing for him too. It just didn't seem like we had a lot of closure for the 4 years time we spent in those places and all the studying that we did. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. So I moved down to Bolivia when the borders opened up after graduation and after vaccinating and fully doing quarantine and everything. I was working with a group of international students at the time, and we actually tried to start a nonprofit right in the middle of COVID, working with some of the indigenous communities here. But unfortunately, the funding didn't work out, and we had lots of internal issues, and everything with COVID made things complicated, and so it really fell through. Sadly, that was a big blow for me. And on a heavier subject matter, 2021 was really difficult for me in terms of mental health, and all my anxiety and depression issues from past traumas kind of came bubbling up, and I was just really struggling to cope and handle my emotions because I'd really stuffed things down for a long time. And also with the failed nonprofit, trying to find my place in the world, whether it was Bolivia, the US, what my purpose was. I just kind of had a bit of an existential crisis and was losing hope in the world because there were so many bad things going on, and I was just kind of drowning in that emotionally. And I'm a very stubborn person by nature, which can be good and bad. But the bad side of that is that I don't ask for help pretty much ever unless I really, really need it. And so last August, I had kind of my aha moment. They say when you're in a bad spot, sometimes that's when the wake-up call hits you and you get kind of slapped in the face by life. So I said, this is pretty rock bottom. I'm pretty hopeless right now. I really need to get my life together, and it's time to repair and rebuild, like immediately, because there was really no other option. So I got better pretty fast because I had to. I didn't have a choice. I was going downhill pretty quickly in terms of my depression. So I spent some time in the beautiful state of Colorado in the US, just some self-healing time around a lot of really great people. Colorado is a beautiful state. You're up in the mountains, really connected to nature. So it helped me a lot. And now I'm doing great. I'm back to thriving. Very much alive and well, as healed as I can be at this point. I'm only 24, but I'm doing the best I can. And I met a ton of amazing and inspiring women during my journey through mental health recovery. A lot of women who have just suffered immensely in life, but they have had so much love to give and so much acceptance and just so dedicated to helping people. And now I really believe in guardian angels. I think my higher power definitely sent me a few of them, different points. I met many sisters. I don't have a sister, so I met many metaphorical sisters that were just these heart connections that I'll never forget. I lost some of them too. There was some loss, sadly. But I do believe in the power of spirit, and I think we'll always be there for each other, some way, shape, or form. So personally, I found my way back to hope and faith and light, and came out of my depressive period in a matter of months, thankfully, with the support of lots of people. And I moved back to Bolivia with my partner, came back to my passion, which is really working with the female artisans and the indigenous communities. I deeply connected with the Guarani community in Bolivia in particular, and they have just welcomed me with open arms. And once I reconnected with them and reconnected with my higher power, things just magically started falling into place. I really like the word serendipity. And I call these connections where they just seem to fall into place serendipitous connections. Being on this podcast is one of those. It's just a beautiful connection, and I've had so many of those lately, that whether or not you believe in magic or a higher power or anything, I definitely do believe that these connections, there's something else at play. So thank you so much for having me here.
What an amazing story. You are so right. There are no accidental meetings. I do believe people are put in my path for a reason. And the magic happens when you are present to those moments, and you are aware. A lot of times people sleepwalk through life, and these little coincidences happen and they don't even see the signs. I call them the breadcrumbs that kind of guide me through life. So it's a real pleasure to be with you today. Now, you've had a fascinating life for a young woman who grew up in the US, now living in Bolivia, on this amazing quest to empower, support women as much as you can. And of course, you've had your own personal challenges with mental health. It is a big problem for a lot of people, more than we actually realize. The few that do talk about it help others navigate the space as well. So if you could go back to the younger you, that young woman who was struggling and not knowing, which way to go, how to help and support yourself, if you could give her 3 nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up to this point, what would you say to another young person who's suffering right now?
First and foremost, community. Find your people, find your tribe. I think for girls and women in particular, it's really important to have safe female community. For women that have traumas, it's just really, really important to find a community that you feel safe in. And that doesn't mean people that aren't going to tell you the truth and, are going to avoid all the triggers, but people that you physically feel safe with, you feel safe with your information. I wish I had a bigger network of inspiring women when I was younger. I think that would have helped me a lot. Just other sisters, aunts, women that I could really rely on and feel like I could tell anything to, and they wouldn't judge me. So I really want to be that for other people. I don't judge anyone for anything anymore. I think it's super important that we share our stories, and quite literally, it saves lives. It absolutely saves lives, even just one person listening to you. So that is definitely advice I would give my younger self. Also, if you're in a dark place, change your environment. That's what I did kind of inadvertently. It doesn't mean you should escape from your problems, but sometimes you just need to change. If you've been in the US your whole life, just go to a different country. It will shake up your world and give you a new perspective. And then third, I would just say know your outlets. For me, they're creative outlets. Creative mindfulness, I like to call it. Nature's an outlet too. Everyone has different outlets. I know a lot of people that music is their outlet, or exercise. That was one for me also. But just know how to healthily process your emotions, because I think particularly for young adults, teenagers, children, of course, we're not really taught how to process strong feelings in a healthy way. And for people that are highly sensitive, I consider myself, I used to be a pretty sensitive person. It's not that we should shy away from really strong feelings and emotions. You just have to know how to process them and how to ride the wave. So that's something that I hope to help other people with in the future. And that's something I really wish that I'd had more support with when I was younger.
Yeah, they say that our emotions are like your children. This is something I was taught when I was going through a very dark, depressive state in my life, and that you shouldn't push them away. If your children come to you and they want your attention, you draw them close and you just sit with them for a little bit. And you're right, it passes through you. And then they'll go off and do something else. And I think the problem a lot of times is we try and push away from those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
The more we try and push them away, the stronger they get.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you just have to sit with it. Sometimes it's a feeling of sadness. And I remember when my mom died in 2020 during COVID, and I wasn't able to go back to Zimbabwe for her funeral, I had to sit with the sadness. It was heavy, it was painful, and I talked about it. I talked to people, and I remember not imagining my being able to talk about her death like I am now without crying.
Mm-hmm.
And I still feel the emotion. It's still there because I haven't even gone back to see her grave. But we just have to sit with it. And finding help, I think, is the biggest thing that you've said. Finding community and people who can embrace you and support you. So now you're living in Bolivia. Where did you learn to speak Spanish? Was that something you did at school, in the US? Tell us about your linguistic journey with the Spanish language.
Yeah, it really started when I was young at Waldorf school. Everything started at Waldorf school. We learned Spanish in just a very casual way, songs, fun games. But it wasn't until high school that I really started taking it seriously. And then when I started traveling, it was a necessity. And I think for anyone, as soon as you go to a different country where pretty much no one speaks your native language, it just accelerates the process of learning because you have no other option. And I think that's just part of my personality. Sometimes I like to throw myself in environments to push myself, and then I backtrack and say, okay, I need to learn the language. I need to learn this place. But it really helped me with my Spanish. I learned very quickly. I also was dating a partner. We have a multicultural cross-continental relationship. So that helped both of us learn each other's languages very quickly. I met a lot of international friends. That helped. I think communicating in relationships is so much better in terms of learning a language rather than studying from a textbook. You can learn to read and write an essay in another language, but that doesn't mean that you can actually express yourself. It took me a really long time to be able to accurately express what I was feeling in Spanish. And then, of course, I've been back and forth. I studied down here, I studied in the US, and now I even have dreams in Spanish sometimes, which they say like that's a sign that you can fully express yourself in that language. And yeah, it wasn't until I completely, I think, let myself go. I've always been kind of a perfectionist, and shame and embarrassment has been a big trigger for me. And I think that holds a lot of people back when they're speaking a second or third or fourth or who knows how many language, because they're worried about making mistakes. And so it wasn't until I just let myself go and didn't care about making mistakes that I actually started communicating fairly fluently. I actually am an English teacher myself, teach English online and in person here, off and on as my side hustle job. And it's been fascinating to teach other people my own native language because you learn so much about it yourself. And languages are just fascinating. I've been learning or trying to learn some of the indigenous languages here that have a completely different structure than European-based colonial languages. And I find it super interesting. I didn't study linguistics, but I really respect people who speak lots of different languages. I only speak two. I know many people speak more, and that's really impressive. I don't know how many languages you speak.
I speak mainly Shona and English, and a bit of Zulu, Xhosa, and Ndebele, because I lived in South Africa for a while. And when I was in high school, I had to learn Afrikaans because I was going to an all-white school, and they taught us to speak Afrikaans, which is not an African language, but it's a mixture of Flemish, Dutch, and German. So, yeah, so let's talk a little bit about your craft. And I hope you don't mind if I share the screen and show you some of the beautiful things that you're making. Tell us about the project with the women and where your journey started with this amazing ability to use your hands. You know, I was looking at these beautiful pictures yesterday. You were closer to me. My little grandson is turning 1 in a month's time. A monkey would have been a perfect gift for him.
Oh.
You're making jewelry, you do crochet. Tell us about that journey.
I was just a very artsy craftsy sort of kid. I've always been a little bit introverted by nature, so I would just throw myself into creative projects and kind of disappear into that for long periods of time when I wasn't socializing. And like I said earlier, I think that was a self-designed coping skill for me in a lot of ways. I've been doing some research on the benefits of, like, for people who have busy minds, hyperactive minds, like being able to come into your hands, come into your body as a mindfulness practice, kind of like yoga. But for me, it's very connected to creating and producing something, because I've struggled with self-esteem issues at different points in my life. So being able to make something and have something to show, for like a moment of anxiety, for instance, when I can crochet something and then have something beautiful afterwards, that's really, really helped me. So now if I'm struggling or if I see other people struggling, try to help them as well and say, okay, do something with your hands, do something. It could be even cooking, anything, as long as you're conscious and mindful about it. And I think a lot of the most beautiful creations, if you look throughout history, come from people that are struggling in difficult moments. When you can channel that into something positive, I made this blouse, for instance. I knitted this 2 years ago when I was in Bolivia, and it was during our quarantine period. I was stuck inside. I was in a very small apartment in the middle of the city, and there was a lot of chaos going around outside, and I felt like I was just kind of in the eye of the storm. And I just sat and knitted this for like 3 days. I got this huge ball of Bolivian cotton yarn from here, and I just loved the way that it felt, and I just knitted this and did that for a while.
I love it. I love it. Now let's share a little bit about the community of women that you're working with, the different artisans that are there. I've also got some of the pictures of their work. And the best way that people can find you is through your LinkedIn. I'm going to share your LinkedIn a link at the bottom of the screen.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me share screen again, and we can see, and you can talk to these amazing women and the vision that you have around the project you're working on now. Tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you. Yeah, so when I first came to Bolivia, I explored relationships with a few different indigenous communities here. Bolivia actually has the highest percentage of indigenous identifying people in South America. So there are 36 different indigenous ethnicities that are recognized by the state. Each one has their own culture, language, their own territory. So the community that has really stolen my heart, that I'm currently working with exclusively, or mostly exclusively, is called the Guarani people. And they existed before the modern state system. So previously they lived throughout what is called the Chaco region of South America. So that includes Bolivia, modern day Bolivia, Argentina, Paraguay, a little bit of Uruguay, and some of Brazil. So I connected with the Guarani Cultural Museum here in Santa Cruz and just got super involved. They really welcomed me with open arms. And I was just surprised by how kind and wonderful everyone was. And so it was kind of one of those serendipitous connections where it just happened. And then suddenly I was working with them all the time, and I met all of these incredible weavers that I realized I actually had a lot in common with. Some were close to my age. I created one really beautiful friendship with a woman named Elvina, who was barely older than me, and she has a young son. And she and her mother weave together. And so everything just kind of came from there. She was looking for buyers. I was living more in the city than she was, and I was more connected to the museum. So we were just hustling, trying to find people to buy the textiles, essentially. And that's what we're still doing. And now we're trying to turn it into more of a business to benefit the communities directly.
I absolutely love it. Beautiful, beautiful work, and so inspiring. I can actually see you and I really doing something big with this work. Like I told you, when I look at something that's handmade, I can see the soul of the woman who made that craft. So it's going to be exciting to see what we will be doing together going forward. But this has been an absolute pleasure connecting with you. My last question for you is, if time was an illusion, and your past, your present, your future existed in the same timeline, and I could take you to your older you, that 100-year-old woman who's sitting in her rocking chair, surrounded by her children and her great-grandchildren, and you could have a conversation with this wise woman who's led you to that point, what would you say to her?
First of all, I do think that time is an illusion sometimes. So thank you for this question. Yeah, I've actually thought about this. I've been trying to connect with my higher power more and what that means for me. And I often view my higher power as a feminine presence. So I have thought about this a lot. I think I would just ask her what the steps are because at this point, now that I'm feeling solid in myself and confident of my vision and my path, I know that I can get there. I just don't know how right now. And I know that there will be many obstacles because there always are obstacles. But I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. That was hard for me to see previously, but I do have that faith now. I just want to know the steps, but I know we can't always plan everything. And I think for me, it's just a matter of running towards, this may sound strange, but running towards uncomfortable situations rather than running away from them. Because I think uncomfortable situations, as long as you're safe, uncomfortable conversations, and really like pushing yourself, going to a new country, throwing yourself into a new culture, really like talking to that stranger that you wouldn't want to necessarily talk to, but you end up having a great relationship with them. I think those are the moments that I've learned the most from. And hopefully my future self would say that as well. But yeah, I'm just looking for the steps right now. But that is why I connected with you.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming online and sharing your story with us. We are looking forward to having you speak at the Herstory Online Summit and taking part in our reality TV show in December. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Herstory Circle is attracting some phenomenal women from all over the world. If you want to support women in this initiative, it's all around weaving and jewelry and different types of handmade craft. You can get hold of Annalena. Her website is coming up, but you can find her on LinkedIn anytime. Connect with her and let's create some magic around the women of Bolivia as well. Thank you, everybody. Thank you again, Annalena. It's been such a pleasure connecting with you today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye for now, everybody. So that is the end of the Herstory Online Summit, July 2022. Thank you to everybody who tuned in today. We'll be back again, not in August, but in September 1 to 10. So register to speak if you have a story to share. Have your story go out into the world through our network. Inbox me if you do want to participate in any way, and we will make it happen. Bye for now, everybody. Thank you again to all of our speakers for today.